Oh, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to our YouTube channel. So, in this video, we are gonna see what if Naruto forged all-black Necrosword from his own blood. So, this is gonna be an interesting video. So, watch till end. And if you are new on this channel, then please make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe. So, without wasting any more time, let's jump right back into the video.
Chapter 1. The shrine beneath the battlefield had gone quiet in the worst way, not peaceful. Never peaceful. Quiet like the world itself was holding its breath, waiting to see who would be left alive when the next scream finally came. Dusk bled across the ruined field in dull red and purple streaks. Broken trees leaned like exhausted soldiers. The ground was carved open by craters, cracked by chakra impacts, and littered with shattered weapons that no one had strength left to retrieve. Smoke drifted in thin, tired ribbons from places where fire jutsu had died out hours ago. Naruto Uzumaki knelt in the dirt. His jacket was torn. His hands were shaking. His breath came in short, uneven pulls that scraped his throat. Around him, the war continued in fragments. Distant explosions, the scream of some shinobi calling for a medic, the heavy thunder of something monstrous moving beyond the tree line. But here, in this one small circle of ruined earth, Naruto was alone, and Hinata's blood was still on his sleeve. He stared at it, not because he had never seen blood before. He had seen too much of it today, too much for one lifetime. Too much for a world that still pretended children could grow up into something normal after wars like this. But this was different. Hinata had stepped in front of him. Again. She had looked at him with those pale, gentle eyes, not afraid for herself, but afraid for him. Then the wood spear had come through the smoke, faster than he could move, faster than even his instincts could scream warning. One moment she was standing. The next, she was falling. He could still hear the sound, not the impact, not the cry from the others. Not Sakura shouting for medical help. He could hear Hinata whispering his name. Naruto closed his eyes so tightly it hurt. Kurama. Inside him, the great fox stirred. The seal space did not look the way it used to. There was no more damp prison floor, no more cage looming in shadow. Naruto and Kurama had moved beyond that. They were partners now. Friends, even if Kurama would rather bite his own tails off than say it out loud. Usually when Naruto reached inward, Kurama was there like a mountain of heat and power. Annoyed, sharp-tongued, but steady. Now the fox was silent. "Kurama," Naruto said again, harder this time. "Give me more." The darkness inside him shifted. A massive red eye opened. "You already have more than your body should hold." Naruto's jaw tightened. "Then give me what I shouldn't hold." Kurama's growl rolled through him like distant thunder. "You think I'm refusing because I care about rules? I think people are dying. They are always dying," Kurama snapped. The force of his voice shook the inner world. Naruto flinched, not from fear, but from the raw panic hiding beneath the fox's anger. Kurama lowered his head until one enormous eye filled Naruto's vision. "Listen to me, brat. If I push more chakra into you right now, your body fails. Not later. Not after one final heroic speech. It fails immediately. Your coils burn. Your organs stop. Your seal destabilizes. I get dragged out of a corpse too damaged to hold me, and then I am loose in the middle of a battlefield crawling with monsters who would love to use me." Naruto swallowed. His hands curled into fists. "So what?" he whispered. "I just watch." Kurama did not answer. That was the answer. Naruto opened his eyes. The ruined field returned. The cold air, the dying light, the dust sticking to his skin, the blood on his sleeve. Somewhere beyond the battlefield, Hinata was in a medical tent. Sakura was with her. Maybe Tsunade too, if she could still stand. Maybe they were fighting to keep her heart beating right now. Maybe they were losing. Naruto tried to stand. His knees almost gave out. He caught himself with one hand against the earth, and that was when he felt it. A pulse, not chakra, not natural energy, not anything he had ever sensed before. The ground beneath his palm beat once, slow and deep, like a heart buried under the world. Naruto froze. The pulse came again. This time the dirt in front of him split open. At first it looked like another crack from the battle. Then the line curved. It bent into a spiral, smooth and deliberate, carving itself through the earth with no sound at all. Naruto stumbled back. The spiral widened, stone moved beneath the mud. Not breaking, not collapsing. Moving aside like a door opening after waiting a very long time, a staircase appeared. It descended into darkness. Naruto stared at it. No jutsu flared. No sealed tags burned. No enemy came out laughing with some dramatic speech. There was only the staircase, impossibly clean, cut into the bedrock beneath a battlefield that had been open ground minutes ago. Behind him, another explosion shook the horizon. Naruto turned toward the sound. Then he looked back down. Kurama's voice came low and sharp from inside him. "Do not go down there." Naruto's breath hitched. "You know what this is?" No. That single word was heavier than any answer could have been. Kurama knew old things, ancient things, the sage, the ten-tails, the hatred of men, the shape of wars before villages had names. For him to say no like that, Naruto stepped toward the stairs. Kurama's chakra slammed against the inside of the seal. "I said do not go down there." Naruto stopped. The fox was not angry now. He was afraid, not cautious, not suspicious, afraid. Naruto had fought alongside Kurama against monsters, legends, and men who thought themselves gods. He had felt the fox's rage, his pride, his bitterness, even his grief, but he had never felt this. "What is it?" Naruto asked. Kurama's answer came like a whisper dragged over broken stone. "I don't know, and that is why you should run." Naruto looked at the blood on his sleeve again. Hinata's face rose in his mind, pale, brave, too still. Then Kakashi, staggering, one eye dim with exhaustion. Then the Shinobi Alliance, scattered and desperate. Then Obito, standing beneath a sky full of nightmares. Naruto's voice was quiet when he spoke. "I don't get to run." He stepped onto the first stair. The air changed immediately. The battlefield sounds did not vanish. They stretched, thinned, became distant, as if Naruto had stepped underwater and the war above him was happening on the other side of a dream. The walls around the staircase were black stone, smooth as glass but older than mountains. Spiral patterns covered them from floor to ceiling. At first, Naruto thought they were seals. Then he realized they were moving, not fast, not in any way the eye could properly follow, but each time he looked away and back again, the symbols had shifted. Curved lines became hooks, hooks became circles, circles became eyes that were not eyes. His skin crawled. The deeper he went, the colder it became. Naruto had known cold before. The loneliness of the village, the empty apartment waiting after missions. The winter nights when no one had invited him anywhere and he had pretended instant ramen was enough to make a place feel like home. This cold was different. This cold had patience. The staircase ended in a chamber. Naruto stepped into it, and every hair on his body rose. The room was circular, carved out of dark bedrock. The ceiling vanished into shadow. The walls were covered in the same spiral markings, but here they did not only move, they breathed. At the center of the chamber stood an obsidian altar. On it rested a scroll, a knife, and an empty groove shaped like a sword. Naruto did not move. For several seconds, he only stared. The groove was longer than his arm, narrow and simple. No decoration, no jewel, no fancy guard, just the absence of a blade waiting to be filled. The knife beside it was small, black, and ugly. It looked less like a weapon and more like a tooth. Kurama growled inside him. "Naruto." The way he said the name made Naruto's chest tighten. No insult, no brat, no sharp edge, just Naruto, leave. Naruto's hand hovered over the scroll. "I need to know." "No, you don't." "I do. You want to. That is not the same thing." Naruto almost laughed. It came out cracked. "Since when are you the careful one?" "Since something older than me opened its mouth beneath your feet." That should have been enough. It wasn't. Naruto touched the scroll. Pain flashed through his hand. He tried to pull back, but his fingers would not move. The parchment clung to him like wet skin. Black lines raced across its surface, rearranging themselves, twisting into shapes his eyes could not understand. Then his blood answered. Naruto felt it under his skin. The Uzumaki blood he had inherited from a mother he barely knew. The vitality everyone praised. the stubborn life force that let him survive what should have ended him 100 times over. It warmed. Then it translated. The words on the scroll became clear, not in Japanese, not in any language Naruto had been taught. They appeared directly in his mind. Your clan was not born. Naruto's breath stopped. Your clan was prepared. Images struck him, an island surrounded by violent spirals of sea. Red-haired people standing beneath storm clouds, seals carved into stone, children with bright eyes and too much life in their veins, then darkness beneath the water, waiting. Watching, dreaming without sleep, the world calls your people seal masters. That was the mask. Naruto's fingers trembled. The world calls your vitality a gift. That was the vessel. More images came. Uzumaki cure burning, ships on the horizon. Shinobi from multiple nations pouring through smoke. Kumo, Kiri, others, faces twisted not with strategy but with fear. Men and women killing what they did not understand because something had whispered to them in sleep. Naruto saw red hair falling into ash. He saw spiral masks split open. He saw an old woman, bleeding and smiling, throw a child into the sea and seal the water shut behind him. He saw the island sink into flame. His throat tightened until he could barely breathe. The scroll continued. They did not destroy you because of your seals. They destroyed you because the deep thing was waking. They destroyed you because your blood was almost ready. Naruto yanked his hand away. This time the scroll let him. He staggered back, chest heaving. "No," he whispered. The chamber did not answer, but something beneath it did. Not a voice. Not exactly, a certainty. It entered his mind without words and settled there like it had always belonged. The war can end. Naruto went still. The certainty did not push. It did not tempt with sweetness. It did not sound like a villain promising power. That made it worse. It simply presented truth. The girl can live. Hinata. Naruto's hands clenched. The chamber changed. The darkness above the altar rippled, and suddenly Naruto saw a medical tent. Sakura was there, hands glowing green. Her face was pale with exhaustion. Shizune held bandages. Someone was shouting for more chakra. Hinata lay on a blood-stained cot, her breathing shallow, her face as white as paper. A clock sat on a crate nearby. The hands moved. 3:47 a.m. Hinata's chest stopped rising. Sakura screamed. The vision vanished. Naruto stumbled forward. No, the certainty returned. This future is close. Naruto shook his head. Stop! It can be cut away. Kurama roared. The seal space exploded with red chakra. Lies. But even as Kurama shouted, Naruto felt the horrible thing beneath the words. The thing in the chamber was not lying. It was not kind. It was not good, but it was not lying. Naruto turned toward the knife. Kurama's chakra surged so violently that Naruto's skin burned from the inside. Do not touch it. Naruto's hand shook. I can save her. You don't know that. It showed me. It showed you what you wanted. Naruto's eyes burned. No. It showed me what happens if I don't. Kurama's voice dropped. For one impossible moment, the great fox sounded old, so old. I have lived through the birth of monsters, the madness of men, and the hands of gods. I have been chained, hated, split, sealed, and used. I have never feared a thing in this world. A pause, then quieter. I am afraid of this. Naruto closed his eyes. That should have stopped him. Maybe in another world it would have. Maybe if Hinata had not fallen. Maybe if Kakashi had not been dying on his feet. Maybe if the alliance had not been breaking. Maybe if Naruto Uzumaki had been the kind of person who could accept one death to avoid a worse bargain. But he was not. He had never been that person. His whole life had been one long refusal to let go. He opened his eyes. I'm sorry. Kurama went silent. Naruto picked up the knife. The chamber reacted. The spiral seals across the walls flared black, not with light but with the absence of it. Shadows deepened. The empty groove in the altar seemed to widen. The knife was cold at first, then it bit into his palm. Naruto gasped. He had cut himself before. Kunai, training accidents, battle wounds, this was different. The knife did not slice his skin so much as open a door in it. Blood welled from the cut. But it was not red, it was black, not ink, not oil. It was the color of a night sky after every star had died. Naruto stared in horror. The blood rose upward. It did not drip. It flowed against gravity, curling around the knife, swallowing the blade, stretching, lengthening. The ugly little tooth became a dagger. The dagger became a sword. The sword became something too dark for the eye to properly hold. The empty groove on the altar filled. The chamber shook. Kurama screamed. Naruto dropped to his knees as his seal ignited. Pain ripped through him, not normal pain, not a wound. Not broken bones, not torn muscles. This was identity being pulled apart. He felt Kurama inside him, felt the fox's chakra wrapped through his own like roots through stone. They had fought each other, hated each other, used each other, saved each other, and now something slid between them, a black edge, a perfect cut. Kurama's roar became a sound Naruto would remember for the rest of whatever life he had left. The seal split open. Naruto screamed too. Red chakra erupted from his body, blasting across the chamber in a storm. Kurama's massive form tore free, not fully flesh, not fully chakra, his shape flickering like fire in a hurricane. For one heartbeat, fox and boy saw each other. Kurama's eyes were wide, not with anger, with grief. Naruto? Naruto reached for him. The Necrosword pulled tighter. Kurama was thrown upward, crashing through the chamber's shadowed ceiling in a burst of red light. The stone above did not break. It simply opened and swallowed him into the dark. Then he was gone. The silence after was worse than the scream. Naruto collapsed against the altar. His palm no longer bled. The cut had sealed, leaving a thin black line across his skin. From that line, something moved beneath his flesh, crawling up his wrist like veins made of shadow. He should have panicked. He should have screamed Kurama's name until his throat tore. He should have felt the loss like a hole punched through his soul. Instead, he felt quiet. Naruto slowly lifted his head. The sword was no longer on the altar. It was wrapped around his right arm, not held, wrapped. The black blade had softened into a living band of darkness, coiled from wrist to shoulder like a sleeping animal. Its edge appeared and vanished with each breath he took. Naruto stared at it. "What are you?" This time, the answer came closer to words, not a name, a function, ender of gods. Naruto's mouth went dry. "I don't want gods," he whispered. "I want the war to stop." The darkness pulsed once, then woke. The chamber shifted. The staircase waited behind him. Naruto stood. His legs did not shake anymore. That frightened him more than the pain had. He walked toward the stairs. Each step should have been difficult, but his body felt strangely light, too light. As if exhaustion had been cut away from him along with something else. At the first stair, he stopped. Kurama, no answer. He reached inward. Nothing, no fox, no warmth, no sharp voice calling him an idiot. Only a cold, patient hunger, small enough to ignore if he wanted to lie to himself. Naruto climbed. The staircase seemed shorter going up. The battlefield sounds returned slowly. First the distant thunder, then the shouts, then the crash of chakra against chakra. By the time Naruto reached the surface, night had nearly fallen. The spiral opening closed behind him without a sound. He stood once more on the ruined field. The war had moved closer. White Zetsu shapes crawled over broken ground in the distance. A massive wood construct rose against the darkening sky. Somewhere far away, a beast screamed. Naruto looked down at his hands. The black line across his palm opened like an eye. The sword slid out. It did not feel like drawing a weapon. It felt like extending a limb. The blade was simple. Too simple. A long black shape that drank moonlight before the moon had even risen. No reflection, no shine, no decoration, just hunger given form. A white Zetsu noticed him, then another, then 20. They turned and rushed him, their pale bodies moving over the battlefield like insects. Naruto raised the blade. He did not swing, not really. His arm moved a few inches. The first Zetsu vanished, not cut apart, not knocked back, vanished. The space where it had been seemed to forget it had ever contained a body. The others stopped. Naruto did too. His expression did not change. A low pulse moved from the sword into his ribs. It was pleased. Naruto felt his stomach twist, not from horror, from hunger. He took one step forward, then another. The Zetsu fled. Naruto watched them go. A few hours ago, he would have chased them with a shout, teeth bared, orange chakra blazing, promising to end this war with everything he had. Now he simply turned toward the loudest part of the battlefield. The sword rested in his hand. The hunger rested in his chest. And somewhere far away, Hinata's heart was still fighting. Naruto began walking. The night opened before him. The war continued. For now, Chapter 2, What the Blade Eats First. The war did not notice Naruto at first. It had become too large for that, too loud, too hungry. Across the shattered plain, thousands of shinobi fought beneath a sky bruised purple and black. The allied shinobi forces had no formations left, no clean lines, no confident commands shouted across the field. What remained was survival by instinct. Squads breaking apart, medics dragging bodies behind broken stone. Exhausted jonin throwing half-formed jutsu with hands that could barely complete seals. Above them all, Obito Uchiha floated like a punishment from heaven. No mask now, no pretending. No man left in the shape he wore. He hung in the air wrapped in six paths power, pale robes shifting around him, truth-seeking balls orbiting his back like silent moons. The Ten-Tail's presence rolled from him in waves, crushing the field beneath spiritual pressure so heavy even veteran shinobi found it difficult to breathe. The world had never looked smaller. Then Naruto walked into it. No orange chakra cloak, no roaring fox-shaped mantle, no golden light. Just a boy in a torn jacket, dust on his face, blood dried on one sleeve, and a black sword held loosely in his right hand. The blade did not shine. It swallowed the light around it. A group of white Zetsu saw him first. They had been swarming over a fallen unit from the hidden stone, clawing through the last defenders with pale hands and borrowed faces. One of them turned its head too far, neck cracking as it noticed the boy approaching. "Naruto Uzumaki," it hissed. The others turned. 20 pale shapes rushed him at once. Naruto did not speed up. The first Zetsu leapt. Naruto raised the sword. The motion was small, almost lazy. The Zetsu stopped existing, not dead, not cut, gone. Its body did not fall apart. Its blood did not spray. There was no impact, no final scream, no dramatic burst of smoke. One moment it was there, claws extended toward Naruto's throat. The next moment, there had never been anything in that space at all. The Zetsu behind it stumbled. Naruto's arm moved again. 3 more vanished. The others scattered. For half a second, Naruto watched them run. Then the blade pulsed in his hand. A thin black tendril snapped out from the sword, crossed 30 feet of battlefield, touched the nearest fleeing Zetsu in the back, and the creature became a memory with no owner. Naruto stopped walking. His eyes lowered to the blade. He had not told it to do that. The sword rested in his hand like it belonged there. Like it had always belonged there. Its edge shifted gently, changing shape in ways his eyes refused to understand. Sometimes it looked solid. Sometimes it looked like smoke. Sometimes it looked like a crack in reality pretending to be metal. A whisper of satisfaction moved through his ribs. Naruto swallowed. "No," he said quietly. The blade did not answer. It did not need to. From the left, a scream cut through the field. "Look out!" Naruto turned. A wooden dragon crashed through the smoke, jaws wide enough to swallow a house. Its body twisted with living branches, chakra packed into every scale-like plate of bark. Several shinobi dove aside as it charged, too exhausted to stop it. Naruto recognized the technique, would release. Hashirama's power, or something close enough to it. The dragon came for him. For one heartbeat, Naruto's old instincts returned. Dodge, make clones, gather chakra, hit it with everything, but when he reached for chakra, there was a hollow silence where Kurama had been. His chest tightened. The dragon roared. The sword lifted. This time Naruto did swing. The black blade passed through the wooden dragon's snout. Nothing happened. Then everything happened at once. The dragon forgot it was alive. Its roar cut off. The chakra, holding its form together, unraveled like a rope pulled thread by thread. The shaped wood lost its purpose, lost its command, lost the idea of being a dragon at all. It fell from the air as ordinary lumber. Branches crashed to the ground around Naruto. One struck his shoulder and bounced off. He barely felt it. Across the field, several Sensonin screamed, not from injury, from understanding, just enough to be terrified. What was that? I don't know. It didn't destroy the chakra. It erased the structure. No, not erased. The sensor's voice broke. Naruto heard all of them. Every voice, every heartbeat, every soul. He should not have been able to. The battlefield stretched in his perception, opening like a map. Not chakra signatures, not the warm sparks of life he had sensed in Sage mode. This was different. He felt weight, the weight of every living thing. Civilians were sparks in the far distance. Shinobi were brighter. Jinchuriki burned like sealed suns. Obito above the field was a black star wrapped in divine fire. And somewhere far behind the lines, Hinata was a fragile candle that refused to go out. Naruto turned his head slightly. He could feel her, not clearly. Not like seeing her face, but he could feel the thin, trembling thread of her life, still there, still fighting. His grip tightened around the sword. Then let's end this. The blade warmed, not with heat, with approval. A Baijudama formed in the distance. Naruto looked up. One of the Ten-Tail's distorted fragments had gathered enough chakra to shape a massive sphere of destruction. The black-purple orb spun above its mouth, screaming with pressure. Shinobi across the field scattered, but many were too injured to move. The orb fired. It tore across the battlefield like a falling moon. Naruto stepped into its path. "Naruto?" Someone shouted. Maybe Sakura, maybe Kakashi. Maybe a dozen people at once. He did not look back. The Baijudama came down. Naruto raised All-Black. The sword touched the front of the attack. The world went silent. The Baijudama did not explode. It became confused. The chakra inside it unraveled, not violently, but conceptually. The attack lost its own definition. It was no longer compressed destruction. No longer a Baijudama, no longer a weapon. By the time it reached Naruto, it had become a harmless gust of warm air. It washed over his face and ruffled his hair. Then it was gone. The battlefield stopped, not entirely. War never stopped entirely, but enough that people noticed. A hidden cloud shinobi lowered his sword. A sand shinobi forgot to complete her hand sign. A white Zetsu stood frozen with its hand around a wounded man's ankle. Even Madara Uchiha, standing on a distant hill with his arms crossed, narrowed his eyes. Naruto felt all of them watching. He hated it. Or maybe he remembered that he should hate it. The difference was becoming important. A voice called from behind him. "Naruto," he turned. Sakura stood near the edge of a medical formation, her hands still glowing green, her face pale with exhaustion. Dirt streaked her cheeks. Blood covered one sleeve. Her eyes fixed on the sword first, then his face. She took one step toward him, stopped. "What happened to you?" For a moment, Naruto almost answered honestly. "I don't know. I found something under the world. I lost Kurama. I think I made a mistake. I think I saved everyone. All of those were true. None of them would help," so he smiled. It felt wrong on his face. "I'm going to end the war." Sakura stared at him. She knew him too well, not as deeply as Sasuke did. Not in the quiet way Hinata did. Not from the inside like Kurama had, but Sakura knew the shape of his lies, and this one did not fit. Before she could speak, the sky screamed. Obito descended. He did not fall. He chose to arrive. The air bent beneath him as he came down, truth-seeking balls orbiting in silent formation. His pale eyes fixed on Naruto with cold interest. "Interesting," Obito said, his voice carried across the field. "You were supposed to break." Naruto looked up at him. "I did." Obito's expression did not change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Naruto stepped forward. The sword dragged a black line through the dirt beside him. "I'm done talking to you." Obito tilted his head. "You sound different." Naruto said nothing. Obito's gaze shifted to the blade. For the first time, his calm mask cracked. "What is that?" Naruto looked at the sword too. The honest answer rose in his throat. Instead, the blade answered through him. "The end of things that call themselves eternal." The moment the words left his mouth, Naruto froze internally. That had not been him, not completely. Obito heard it too. His body moved before the silence finished. A truth-seeking ball shot forward, reshaping into a black spear aimed directly at Naruto's chest. The attack was faster than thought, carrying the power to erase almost anything it touched. Naruto swung. The sword met the spear. For the first time, resistance, not much, but enough that Naruto felt the impact through his shoulder. The truth-seeking spear trembled against the Necrosword's edge. Black against black. One born from Six Paths chakra, from the root logic of the shinobi world. The other older, colder, hungry for things with names like God. The spear began to unweave slowly, too slowly. Naruto's arm shook. The blade pulsed with irritation. Then the spear split apart and collapsed into dust-like motes before fading. Obito's eyes narrowed. So it can cut those too. Naruto's breathing slowed. The sword fed him the answer. Not for free. Obito vanished. Kamui, Naruto felt the dimensional twist before his eyes could follow it. Space folded around Obito, pulling him into that unreachable place between moments. The old Naruto would have relied on speed, clones, instinct. This Naruto felt the wound reality made when Obito left. The blade noticed it too. Obito reappeared behind him, black staff already swinging for the back of Naruto's neck. Naruto did not turn. A tendril from the sword snapped backward and caught the staff. Obito's eye widened. Naruto turned slowly. The tendril crawled along the staff toward Obito's hand. Obito dropped the weapon and phased away. Naruto watched him vanish into Kamui's dimension. Then he lifted the sword and cut the air. The battlefield screamed, not people, space. A vertical black wound opened in front of Naruto. On the other side, for the briefest instant, Obito stood inside his private dimension, staring back in disbelief. Naruto stepped through. The Kamui dimension was gray, cold, and filled with endless blocks suspended in nothing. Obito landed on one several yards away, his expression finally showing something close to fear. "You can't be here." Naruto looked around. "I know," the blade shifted in his hand. "But it can." Obito attacked. For all his power, for all the godlike force wrapped around him, he was still Obito Uchiha. Still a shinobi. Still brilliant under pressure. He did not panic fully. He tested. 6 black rods shot from his sleeve. Naruto severed them. Obito warped behind him. Naruto's shadow caught his ankle. Obito phased. The shadow followed. Obito launched truth-seeking balls in a rotating spiral, forcing Naruto into a defensive position. Naruto cut 3. The 4th grazed his shoulder. Pain flashed, real pain. His sleeve disintegrated, and a strip of flesh vanished from his upper arm. For one glorious, terrifying second, Naruto felt human. Then the black veins under his skin moved. The wound closed, not healed, corrected. His arm remembered it was supposed to be whole. Obito saw it. His face hardened. "You're not Naruto?" "That should have hurt. It did somewhere, far away." Naruto answered, "I'm trying to be." Obito's expression twisted, maybe anger, maybe disgust, maybe recognition. "You think power will fix this world?" Naruto's fingers tightened around the sword. "No," he stepped forward. "I think you made sure nothing else could." Obito's face changed again. For the first time, the words struck deeper than the blade had. Then rage replaced whatever had almost surfaced. The dimension shook. Obito rose into the air, chakra surging violently around him. The tentails inside him roared, its monstrous presence pressing against his skin from within. The floating blocks cracked apart, space folded and unfolded as he gathered power. "You want the war to end," Obito said. "Then sleep with everyone else." The infinite Tsukuyomi's dream shimmered behind his eyes, a world without pain, a world where Rin lived, a world where Naruto never lost anyone. A world where Hinata never fell. For one second, Naruto saw it, not because Obito cast the jutsu, because the blade showed him what Obito was offering, a lie shaped like mercy. Naruto's eyes went cold. No. Obito's body expanded with the tentail's power. The beast within him pushed outward. Bones of chakra, tails of white flesh and divine force. A monstrous silhouette bloomed behind him, trying to become complete, trying to anchor itself fully into the world through Obito's body. The tentails screamed, and the Necrosword answered. Naruto did not leap. He walked. Obito fired everything, truth-seeking storms, wood dragons, black rods distorted by Judama, Kamui folds meant to scatter Naruto's limbs across dimensions. The blade learned each one. The first truth-seeking storm slowed him. The second failed faster. The third became food. Naruto reached Obito. The Ten-Tail's eye opened across Obito's chest. For a moment, Naruto saw it, not as a monster, as an ancient hunger wearing a body. The sword in his hand trembled with recognition. This was not like the Zetsu, not like the dragon, not like the Baijudama. This was weight, divine weight. Food enough to change everything. Naruto felt his mouth water. Horror cut through him. "No," he whispered. But the blade was already moving. Naruto drove All-Black forward. The sword pierced Obito's chest. Obito gasped. There was no blood, only light. The Ten-Tails shrieked inside him. Naruto felt the blade dig deeper, not into flesh, but into the bond between host and beast. It found the seams, the spiritual roots, the impossible knot tying Obito to the Ten-Tails' divine body. Then it cut. Obito screamed. The Ten-Tails screamed louder. The Kamui dimension split open. Across the battlefield outside, every shinobi felt it. A pressure that had weighed on the entire world suddenly jerked sideways, as if some cosmic hook had been driven through it. Naruto pulled. The Ten-Tails came out of Obito, not physically, not as a beast, as essence. A colossal shape of white fury and ancient chakra tore free, clawing against the blade's pull. Its eye rolled wildly. Its mouths opened in places mouths should not exist. It tried to anchor itself to the world, to chakra, to the moon, to history. The Necrosword ate the anchors first. The Ten-Tails vanished into the blade. No explosion, no final roar, just one last stretched note of terror, then silence. Obito fell. Naruto caught him before he hit the ground. For a moment, there was only a man in his arms, not a god, not a masked villain, not the architect of the war. Just Obito Uchiha, pale, shaking, and empty. His hair had lost its unnatural brightness. His skin looked gray. His eyes, once filled with impossible plans, stared at Naruto with a tiredness that felt older than hate. Obito laughed once. It was barely a sound. "So this is what it feels like." Naruto looked down at him. "What?" "To have something taken out of you." Naruto said nothing. Obito's eyes shifted toward the sword. "Is it going to eat me too?" The blade pulsed. A whisper moved through Naruto's bones. Little. Obito was no longer divine, no longer useful, no longer worth hunger. Naruto hated the relief he felt. Obito seemed to understand. He closed his eyes. "Do it quickly." Naruto's hand tightened behind Obito's back. He thought of Neji, of Hinata falling, of all the bodies on the field, of a masked man telling children the world was hopeless, and then making it true. The old Naruto would have shouted, demanded answers, promised redemption, refused to let Obito die without forcing him to face every life he had ruined. But the old Naruto was not the only voice in his chest anymore. "Do you want to live?" Naruto asked. Obito's eyes opened slightly. For one fragile second, there was something human in them, then it disappeared. "No," Naruto nodded. "I'm sorry." Obito smiled faintly. "No, you're not." Naruto's face went still, because Obito was right. The sword moved. Obito Uchiha ended quietly. Naruto stepped out of the Kamui dimension alone. The battlefield was waiting. Thousands of eyes turned toward him. The sky had changed. The monstrous pressure of the Ten-Tails was gone. The terrible divine weight pressing on every soul had vanished so completely that many shinobi fell to their knees simply because they could breathe again. For one wild second, hope returned. Then they saw the sword. Then they saw Naruto. Then they understood that the war had not ended. It had changed owners. On a distant hill, Madara Uchiha stood motionless. The great dream he had built across generations had just been cut out of history in front of him. The Ten-Tails was gone. Obito was gone. The path to becoming its Jinchuriki was gone. For the first time since his resurrection, Madara looked at someone and did not see an opponent. He saw a problem. No, worse, he saw a predator. Naruto felt Madara watching. Their eyes met across the battlefield. Madara smiled. It was not a confident smile. It was the kind of smile a proud man wears when fear is too insulting to show. Naruto looked away first, not because he was afraid. Because Madara was not heavy enough yet. The thought came calmly, too calmly. Naruto's stomach turned. "What am I thinking?" The blade did not answer, but it pulsed against his palm, satisfied and warm. A scream from the medical lines snapped Naruto's head around. Hinata, he felt her thread flicker. Thin, weak, almost gone, Naruto took one step toward the camp, then another. Then he was running, not with golden speed, not wrapped in chakra, just running, sword dissolving back around his arm as he crossed the battlefield. People moved aside without knowing why. Some bowed their heads. Some backed away. Some reached toward him like he was still the hero who had saved them. Naruto did not see them. He followed the candle. The medical tent came into view. Sakura was inside, hands glowing so brightly the veins in her arms stood out black beneath the skin. Shizune stood beside her, feeding chakra into the procedure. Two other medics had collapsed nearby. Hinata lay on the cot. Her chest did not move. Sakura's voice broke. "No, no, no, come on." Naruto stopped at the entrance. The black band around his arm pulsed once. Something invisible moved through the air, not chakra, not healing. A correction of possibility. Hinata's heart beat once. Sakura froze. Then again. The monitors beside the cot jumped. Hinata inhaled sharply, a fragile, broken breath. Sakura made a sound that was half sob, half laugh, and pushed more medical chakra into Hinata's chest. "Yes, good, good, stay with me." Naruto gripped the tent flap so hard the fabric tore. Sakura looked up. For one moment, relief filled her face. Then she saw him, really saw him. The black veins faintly visible beneath his skin. The strange stillness in his eyes, the absence where Kurama's warmth should have been. "Naruto," she whispered. He tried to smile again. It worked better this time. That made it worse. "She'll live?" he asked. Sakura stared at him for a second too long. Then she nodded. "I think so." Naruto closed his eyes. The relief came. It did. It was real. But beneath it, deeper than it should have been, something else stirred. A quiet satisfaction, a debt paid, a bargain honored. He opened his eyes and looked at Hinata. Her face was pale. Her breathing was shallow, but she was alive. The blade had not lied. That was the most terrifying part. Sakura stepped toward him. "What did you do?" Naruto looked at her. "I ended it." "No," she said softly. "You didn't." He had no answer. Outside, cheers began to rise, at first one voice, then 10, then hundreds. Someone had realized Obito was dead. Someone had realized the Ten-Tails was gone. Someone had decided that meant victory. The sound spread like fire. "Naruto? Naruto did it? We won. We won." The cheering grew louder. Naruto stood in the medical tent, Hinata alive behind him. Sakura staring at him like he was a stranger wearing her friend's face, and the world outside chanting his name. The blade curled tighter around his arm. It liked the sound. Naruto stepped out before Sakura could stop him. The alliance was gathering. Exhausted shinobi, wounded shinobi, crying shinobi. People from villages that had hated each other for generations stood shoulder to shoulder, looking at him like he had dragged the sun back into the sky. They cheered. They wept. Some knelt. Naruto looked at them. He should have felt warmth. He should have felt embarrassed. He should have scratched the back of his head and laughed too loudly and told everyone not to make such a big deal out of it. Instead, he studied them. Noticed who had the strongest chakra, who carried bloodline limits, who smelled faintly of old contracts with summons, who might matter if the blade grew hungry again. The thought landed cleanly in his mind. Naruto's smile vanished. He backed away. No one noticed. They were too busy celebrating the hero. Only Kakashi saw. He stood near the edge of the crowd, leaning heavily against a broken spear, one sharing an eye uncovered, his face hidden as always but his posture rigid. Teacher and student looked at each other. Kakashi did not cheer. He did not smile. He only watched Naruto's right arm, where the blackness curled beneath the torn sleeve. Then, Kakashi's visible eye narrowed with the terrible exhaustion of a man who had just survived the end of the world and realized another one had already begun. Naruto turned away. Night settled fully over the battlefield. The injured were carried back. Fires were lit. The dead were counted as much as anyone had strength to count them. Messages were sent. Scouts reported that the enemy forces were collapsing without Obito and the Ten-Tails. The war, everyone said, was over. Naruto sat alone at the edge of the camp. No one disturbed him, not because they did not care, because something in them warned against it. The sword had withdrawn into his skin, leaving only the black line across his palm and faint shadow veins curling up his forearm. He flexed his hand. The line opened and closed like a sleeping eye. He reached inward again. Still no Kurama. The emptiness answered. Naruto bowed his head. "I'm sorry," he whispered. For the first time since the shrine, grief rose properly. Kurama's laugh, his growl, his insults, his warmth. The way his chakra had felt like standing beside a furnace in winter. Gone. No, not gone. Naruto paused. Somewhere far away, beyond his new senses, beyond even the battlefield's spiritual noise, there was a red spark. Small. Weak. Alive. Kurama. Naruto stood so fast the dirt scattered beneath his sandals. The blade tightened. A warning. Naruto froze. The red spark flickered in the distance. Kurama was alive, diminished but alive. Naruto took one step toward it. Pain shot through his ribs, not physical pain, correction. The blade did not want him going that way. Naruto clenched his teeth. Don't. The pain increased. He dropped to one knee, his vision blurred. The blade's message came without words. Not now. Naruto's fingers dug into the earth. Why? The answer was simple, cold, practical. He is not needed. Naruto almost laughed, not because it was funny, because if he did not laugh, he might break. Kurama was alive, and the thing inside him had categorized the fox as unnecessary. Naruto forced himself to breathe. Slowly, the pain faded. He remained on the ground until his hands stopped shaking. When he finally looked up, the moon had risen, pale and watchful. For years, the moon had been tied to myths, to seals, to gods and monsters, and the sage ancient sins. Naruto had never cared much about that. The moon had just been the moon. Now he looked at it and felt weight behind it. History. Power, things above the world, things that might come down, things the blade wanted him to notice. His thoughts moved with frightening clarity. There are 9 Biju. I had one. Now I have the Ten-Tails. There are 5 Kage. I have none. Naruto stopped breathing. The thought sat in his mind like a stone dropped into still water. He waited for disgust, for panic, for the old loud voice inside him to shout that people were not food, that power was not measured by what the blade could take, that he was Naruto Uzumaki and he did not think like this. The shout did not come, only silence. Then, softly from somewhere deep beneath his ribs, hunger. Naruto looked down at his palm. The black line opened. A sliver of the sword emerged, dark and patient. "No," Naruto whispered. The blade waited. The camp behind him celebrated victory. Hinata lived. Obito was dead. The Ten-Tails was gone. The world was safer than it had been that morning. Every promise the blade had made had come true. Naruto stared at the moon until his eyes burned. He did not know whether the thought had been his or the sword's. He was beginning to suspect it did not matter. Chapter 3. The Will of Fire. Unmade 2 weeks after the war ended, Konoha tried to celebrate. It was not good at it. Not anymore. The village had survived too many funerals to remember what victory was supposed to sound like. Banners were hung across the main streets, but the cloth moved softly in the wind, like even the colors were afraid to be too bright. Children ran through the market again, yet their laughter came in sudden bursts before fading when they passed walls covered in names. Names of the dead. Names still being added. The war was over. That was what everyone kept saying. The Ten-Tails was gone. Obito Uchiha was dead. The White Zetsu army had collapsed almost overnight. Madara had vanished from the battlefield after witnessing Naruto's transformation, and though every scout in the continent was looking for him, no one had found a trace. The allied shinobi forces had won, and Naruto Uzumaki was the reason. That was also what everyone kept saying. Hero, savior, child of prophecy. The boy who ended the 4th Shinobi World War. Naruto heard those words every day now. He heard them in the street, whispered by civilians who stopped walking when they saw him. He heard them from wounded shinobi lying in hospital beds, smiling through bandages and tears. He heard them from children who pointed at him with wide eyes before their parents quickly pulled their hands down. He smiled back each time. He waved. He laughed when people expected laughter. He scratched the back of his head when they praised him too loudly. The performance was flawless. That was what frightened him. Old Naruto had never performed well. His emotions had always escaped him at full volume. If he was angry, the village heard it. If he was happy, strangers 3 streets away knew. If he was sad, he covered it badly and loudly insisted he was fine. Now he could smile exactly enough. Now he knew when to lower his eyes, when to sound humble, when to say, "I just did what anyone would have done." The words worked. People cried when he said them. People believed him. Naruto hated how easy it was to make them believe. He stood on the roof of the Hokage Tower at sunset, watching the village heal below him. Repairs had already begun. Shinobi moved wooden beams. Civilians swept glass from the streets. Families reunited outside the hospital. Smoke rose from Ikaraku, where Chuchai had reopened even though half the street still needed rebuilding. The smell of ramen reached him. For a moment, Naruto waited for his stomach to growl. It did not. The hunger in him had changed. Food was still food. He could eat. His body still needed it, at least in theory. But beneath that normal hunger, deeper and colder, the other hunger waited. It had been quiet since the battlefield, not gone, never gone, just satisfied. The black line across his palm opened slightly. Naruto closed his fist. "Stop that," he whispered. The line shut. Behind him, a voice said, "Talking to yourself already?" Naruto turned. Kakashi stood near the roof entrance, leaning against the doorframe like he had accidentally wandered there and could leave whenever he wanted. His mask covered his face. His forehead protector was raised, sharing invisible. He looked tired, not normal Kakashi tired. Not lazy, bored, reading a book tired, war tired, the kind of tired that settled behind the eye and stayed there. Naruto smiled. "Kakashi-sensei, you should be resting." "So should you." "I'm fine." Kakashi stared at him. The silence stretched. Naruto kept smiling. Finally, Kakashi said, "That used to be a worse lie." Naruto's smile flickered, only for a second, but Kakashi saw it. Of course he did. Naruto looked back toward the village. "I don't know what you want me to say." "The truth would be nice." Naruto almost laughed. The truth. The truth was that he could feel every living soul in Konoha if he focused too hard. The truth was that the hospital below him shone in his awareness like a field of weak candles, some brightening, some dimming, some so close to going out that he had to stop himself from counting them. The truth was that clan compounds had different weights. The Hyuga felt sharp and pale, like moonlight through glass. The Aburame felt scattered, not one soul but thousands of tiny hungers wrapped around each human center. The Uchiha district, mostly empty, felt like an old wound with one dark flame walking toward it from the village gates. Naruto's head lifted. Kakashi noticed immediately. "What is it?" Naruto did not answer. Far away, beyond the western gate, a familiar presence entered Konoha, cold, controlled, heavy with grief and lightning. Sasuke. Naruto's chest tightened, not with fear, with something close to relief. Then the blade stirred beneath his skin, interested. Naruto's hand clenched so hard his nails dug into his palm. Kakashi's eye narrowed. "Naruto?" "He's back," Naruto said. Kakashi straightened. "Sasuke?" Naruto nodded. Kakashi watched him carefully. "You want me to come with you?" The old Naruto would have said no loudly, then rushed off before Kakashi could argue. This Naruto considered the question. Sasuke was dangerous. Not to him, maybe, not anymore, but dangerous enough that any meeting mattered. Kakashi's presence could stabilize things, or escalate them. Sasuke trusted Kakashi in complicated ways. Naruto trusted Kakashi in simpler ones. The blade offered its own calculation. Uchiha, divine adjacent, high yield potential. Naruto went cold. "Naruto?" Kakashi asked again. Naruto turned away. "No, I'll talk to him." Kakashi stepped forward. "Naruto, what happened to your arm on the battlefield?" Naruto vanished, not with body flicker, not exactly. One moment he was on the roof. The next, the shadow at his feet pulled him through itself, and he appeared 3 streets away, landing silently on a rooftop overlooking the Uchiha district. He had not meant to do that. He stood very still. The blade was learning shortcuts or teaching him, he did not know which was worse. Below, Sasuke walked through the abandoned district. His cloak was torn from travel. His sword hung at his hip. His expression was unreadable, but Naruto could feel the tension in him, wound tight as wire. Sasuke stopped in the middle of the empty street. "You can come out." Naruto stepped off the roof and landed behind him. Sasuke did not turn around. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The Uchiha district held its silence around them. Empty houses, closed windows, dust gathered on old gates, a place made of ghosts. Finally Sasuke said, "The war ended." Naruto nodded. "Yeah, I heard you killed Obito." "Yeah, and the Ten Tails?" Naruto's mouth went dry. "Gone." Sasuke turned then. His eyes were already Sharingan red, not Mangekyo, not yet, just red enough to see too much. His gaze went straight to Naruto's right hand. The black line across Naruto's palm remained closed, but Sasuke stared as if the sword were fully drawn. "What is that?" Naruto exhaled slowly. "I don't know." Sasuke's eyes lifted to his face. Naruto met them. "I don't know yet," Naruto corrected. Sasuke was silent. That silence hurt more than shouting would have, because Sasuke knew, maybe not the details, not the shrine beneath the battlefield, not the scroll, not Kurama's scream, but Sasuke understood wrongness. He had lived with cursed power under his skin. He had chased strength that whispered in familiar voices. He had known what it meant to become less yourself, one good reason at a time. He looked at Naruto now and saw a road he recognized. "What did it cost?" Sasuke asked. Naruto looked away. The empty street blurred for half a second. Kurama. Sasuke's face changed, only slightly, but for Sasuke, slightly was everything. "The Nine-Tails is dead." Naruto shook his head. "No, alive, somewhere, weak." "Then go find him." "I can't." "Can't or won't." The words hit like a kunai. Naruto's jaw tightened. "The sword won't let me." Sasuke's Sharingan spun. "The sword." Naruto almost snapped at him, then stopped, because yes, that was what he had said, the sword would not let him. 2 weeks ago, those words would have sounded insane. Now they were simply true. Sasuke stepped closer. "Show me." Naruto's hand curled. "No, Naruto." "No." The black line on his palm opened, just a sliver. Sasuke's Mangekyo awakened instantly, not in attack, in alarm. The air between them tightened. Naruto felt the Sharingan's gaze touch the blade and recoil. Sasuke's eyes were not like normal perception. They did not slide away from the sword. They held on, forcing meaning from something that did not want to be seen. Blood gathered at the corner of Sasuke's left eye. He hissed and staggered back half a step. Naruto's arm moved on instinct, not toward Sasuke, away from him, hiding the palm behind his back like a child caught holding something forbidden. Sasuke wiped the blood with his thumb. His expression had gone very still. "That thing is alive." Naruto said nothing. "It's looking back." Naruto's throat tightened. "I know." The two words sat between them. For the first time since Sasuke arrived, his anger cracked. Under it was fear, not fear of Naruto, fear for him. That was worse. Sasuke looked away first, toward the empty houses of his clan. "I came back to fight you." Naruto blinked. A small, broken laugh escaped him. "Of course you did." "I had a speech." "I bet it was dramatic." It was. For 1 second, something almost normal passed between them, then it died. Sasuke's voice lowered. "I was going to cut down the old system, break the villages, become the darkness everyone hated so no one else had to carry it." Naruto stared at him. Sasuke looked back. "But someone beat me to it." Naruto flinched. The blade stirred, not angry, amused. Naruto took a breath. "I'm not trying to rule anything." "Not yet." "Sasuke, can you take it off?" Naruto did not answer. Sasuke understood. "Can you die?" The question was soft, too soft. Naruto remembered a night 2 days after the battle, a kunai in his hand, the blade asleep under his skin. His own reflection in a washroom mirror. He had pressed the kunai to his throat, not because he wanted to die, but because he needed to know whether the choice was still his. The kunai had turned to dust before it touched skin. Then the black veins had crawled up his neck and gently, almost tenderly, forced his hand down. Naruto looked at Sasuke. I tried. Sasuke's face went pale. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Finally, Sasuke said, "Then we leave." Naruto frowned. "What? We leave Konoha tonight, no village. No council, no speeches. No one watching you like a weapon they're too scared to name." Sasuke's voice sharpened. "We find Orochimaru, we find the Uzumaki ruins, we find every old shrine and dead god story on the continent until we understand what that thing is." Naruto stared at him. The answer came from the old part of him first. Yes, run, find Kurama, fix this, make a plan, drag Sasuke into trouble like old times, argue, fight, survive for one heartbeat. Naruto could almost feel it, the road opening, the possibility of becoming himself again. Then the blade pulsed. Far away in the hospital, Hinata slept in the tower. Konoha's elders whispered. Across the continent, the remaining Biju shifted in hiding. Above the world, old powers waited. The hunger spoke without words, unfinished. Naruto closed his eyes. Sasuke saw the answer before Naruto gave it. "No." Sasuke said. Naruto opened his eyes. "I can't." Sasuke's face hardened. "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." Sasuke's Mangekyo spun fully now. "Then I'll make you." Naruto did not move. "Sasuke, don't." "Shut up!" The old Naruto might have smiled, because this was familiar too. Sasuke angry. Sasuke hurting. Sasuke choosing violence because words were too small for what he felt. But this time, Naruto did not want the fight, not because he feared losing, because he feared what winning would feel like. Black flame bloomed in Sasuke's eye. Amaterasu. The flame formed for less than a second. The blade opened in Naruto's palm. A whisper-thin edge crossed the space between them. The black fire vanished before it fully existed. Sasuke froze. His eye widened. Naruto stared in horror. He had not swung. He had not chosen. The blade had recognized the technique's spiritual shape and cut it at birth. Sasuke's breathing changed. So did Naruto's. "Sasuke," Naruto said carefully, "stop." Sasuke drew his sword. No, purple chakra erupted around him. Rib bones formed first, then an arm. Then the skeletal shape of Susanoo, rising like a guardian demon around him. Naruto stepped back. The blade surged with hunger, not like with the Ten-Tails, less but sharper, personal. Uchiha chakra tasted different to it. Old, cursed, bright at the edges. "Naruto!" Sasuke shouted. The Susanoo arm swung. Naruto raised his hand. The Necrosword came out fully. The black blade met the purple chakra. Sasuke screamed. Naruto did not cut the arm. He cut deeper by accident. The Susanoo flickered, its spiritual blueprint torn open along one side. Purple chakra shattered like glass, but Sasuke clutched his chest as if Naruto had driven the sword through his ribs. Because Susanoo was not armor, not really. It was Sasuke's soul-given shape, and Naruto had just wounded it. The Susanoo collapsed. Sasuke fell to one knee. Naruto dropped the sword instantly. It dissolved into his arm. He rushed forward and caught Sasuke before he hit the ground. "Sasuke!" Sasuke coughed, one hand gripping Naruto's jacket. His eyes were still Mangekyo, but unfocused with pain. "Idiot!" he rasped. Naruto almost laughed, almost cried. "I told you to stop." Sasuke's grip tightened. "Then stop me properly." Naruto's breath caught, the blade whispered, "Cut." Naruto went still. Sasuke felt it. Even half-collapsed, he felt the change, his eyes sharpened. "Naruto!" The blade whispered again, high yield, emotional anchor, threat, "Cut!" Naruto's hand shook. His fingers curled against Sasuke's back. For 1 second, the Uchiha district disappeared. There was only the hunger, the clean logic, the beautiful simplicity. Sasuke was dangerous. Sasuke could interfere. Sasuke could understand the blade better than anyone. Sasuke could become a problem. Cutting him now would be efficient. Naruto's breath turned ragged. Sasuke did not move. He did not beg. He did not push Naruto away. He only stared at him with those bleeding eyes and said very quietly, "Come back." The words hit something the blade had not yet reached. Naruto shoved Sasuke away and stumbled back. "No!" The sword tried to emerge. Naruto slammed his palm into the ground. "No!" The street cracked. Black veins spread through the stone beneath him, then withdrew. Naruto stood there shaking, teeth clenched, sweat running down his face. Sasuke remained on one knee, breathing hard. Naruto looked at him with something almost like grief. "I'm sorry," Sasuke said nothing. "Go to the others," Naruto said. "Tell them not to come after me, Naruto. Tell them." Sasuke pushed himself upright. "You think I'll listen?" Naruto smiled weakly. No, for a moment they were boys again. Then Naruto turned away. Sasuke's voice followed him. "If you leave, they'll decide you're a threat." Naruto paused. "I know. The village will try to kill you." "I know." "I'll try too." Naruto closed his eyes. "I know." Sasuke's voice cracked with anger. "Then why are you walking away?" Naruto looked down at his right hand. The black line opened, patient and certain. "Because if I stay, I'll start agreeing with it." He vanished into shadow. This time he meant to. 2 countries away, Killer Bee found a fox in the rain. At first he thought it was a summon. Then he saw the eyes, red, furious, ancient, and terrified. The fox was the size of a horse, which should have been impossible. Kurama's true body was a mountain of chakra and hatred, a force of nature with 9 tails that could flatten landscapes. But this creature lay half-curled beneath a broken cedar tree, its chakra flickering weakly around it like dying embers. Bee stood over him, sword handles shifting on his back. "Well, well," Bee said softly. "Big bad fox got small, that ain't funny at all." Kurama opened one eye. Rap later, he growled. "Help first." Inside Bee, Juki stirred. The Eight-Tails' voice was heavy. "That's really him." Bee crouched. "What happened?" Kurama tried to stand. His legs failed. He snarled at them as if his own limbs had betrayed him. The boy found something. Bee's expression changed. "Naruto." Kurama's claws dug into the mud. "I told him not to touch it." Rain fell between them. Bee's usual rhythm faded. "What's something?" Kurama looked up. For once there was no pride left in his voice, something older than chakra. Juki went silent inside Bee. That silence told Bee enough. He reached down. Kurama snapped his teeth. "Touch me and I bite your hand off." Bee grabbed the fox by the scruff anyway and lifted him. Kurama was too weak to fight properly. "Put me down." "Can't do that, little flame," Bee said. "World just changed. We need your name." Kurama growled. Bee started walking. The fox hung from his grip in absolute humiliation for 3 seconds before managing to twist himself over Bee's shoulder like an angry sack of fur. "I hate you," Kurama muttered. "Good," Bee said. "Hate means you're awake." Kurama looked back toward the east, toward Konoha, toward Naruto. "He was supposed to be stronger than me." Bee's face softened. "He is." Kurama's voice dropped to a whisper. "No, he was supposed to be better." Naruto's first public mission after the war came 4 days later. It should have been simple. A convoy near the capital had been attacked by a missing nin cell. Not Akatsuki, not Madara, not some ancient horror from beneath the world. Just desperate survivors of smaller evils trying to take advantage of a wounded continent. Tsunade did not want to send him. Naruto could tell. She stood behind the desk in the Hokage's office, one hand resting on the wood, the other hidden beneath her sleeve because it still shook when she was tired. Sakura stood beside her. Kakashi leaned against the wall. Shikamaru sat near the window, eyes half-lidded but mind moving. Everyone was watching him without watching him. Naruto smiled. "I can handle it." Tsunade's jaw tightened. "That is not the question." "Then what is?" No one answered. Naruto understood. "Can you handle it without becoming worse? Can you use that thing and still come back? Can we ask you to save people when saving people is what made this happen?" Finally, Shikamaru sighed. "The convoy has civilians. If we wait, they die." Tsunade closed her eyes. Then she handed Naruto the mission scroll. "Bring them back alive." Naruto took it. His fingers brushed hers. Tsunade flinched, barely, but he felt it. The old Naruto would have been hurt. This Naruto catalogued it: fear response, high chakra reserves depleted, creation rebirth damage lingering, potential threat level reduced. He froze. Sakura noticed. "Naruto," he forced himself to smile again. "I'll be back soon." He left before anyone could say more. The convoy was worse than reported. The missing nin were former Sound affiliates, curse marks crawling over their skin like bruised flame. They had taken hostages. Merchants. 2 children, 1 old man with a broken leg. Their leader stood on an overturned wagon, laughing as chakra warped his body into something half-human and jagged. Naruto arrived at the edge of the road. The missing nin turned, recognition spread across their faces. Then fear. Their leader swallowed it first. "Hero of the war," he called. "Come to save the day." Naruto looked at the hostages, alive, terrified, bruised but alive. "Good," he stepped forward. "Let them go." The leader grinned too widely. "Or what?" The blade opened in Naruto's palm. The forest went quiet, birds stopped, insects stopped. Even the curse marks on the missing nin seemed to recoil. Naruto intended to draw the sword only enough to scare them. That was all, a warning, a controlled use. But the moment the black edge entered the air, the curse marks screamed, not the men, the marks. Orochimaru's cursed chakra recognized something higher on the food chain and tried to flee from its own hosts. The missing nin leader clutched his neck. "What is that?" Naruto's vision narrowed. The world lost color. Then the hunger opened its eye. Shadow Sage mode did not arrive like Sage mode. There was no stillness, no balance with nature, no gathering of energy from the world. Natural energy refused him now. He felt it at the edges of the forest, pulling away like animals fleeing fire. In its place, the blade fed him what it had eaten: Tentail's essence, Obito's stolen divinity. Fragments of every jutsu it had severed. All of it poured backward through Naruto's nervous system. His eyes turned black, not the black of pupils, complete black, sclere, iris. Everything. At the center of each eye, a single white point appeared, sharp as a star in a dead sky. The marks on his face changed, not whisker marks now, negative spaces, thin black absences where skin should have been, as if someone had carved the shape of silence into him. A cloak rose around his shoulders, not chakra, tendrils. Living shadow. The missing nin leader screamed and charged. Naruto moved. 7 shadows moved with him. For the civilians, it was over before they understood it had begun. The missing nin did not explode. They did not suffer long. They simply stopped being threats, each curse mark severed from its host, each weapon cut apart, each body dropped unconscious or empty-eyed into the dirt. Naruto stood in the road afterward, sword lowered. His breathing was slow, too slow. One of the children cried. That sound brought color back into the world. Naruto blinked. Shadow Sage faded. The cloak withdrew. His eyes returned to blue. He looked around. The convoy was safe. The attackers were finished. No civilians dead. A perfect mission. So why could he not remember deciding each strike? His hand began to shake, not from fear, from wanting to draw the sword again. Naruto turned away from the civilians before they could thank him. "Head to Konoha," he said. "Medics will meet you on the road." The old man called after him. "Bless you, Lord Naruto." "Lord." Naruto walked faster. The blade purred beneath his skin. Every minute in Shadow Sage had felt like power beyond exhaustion, beyond doubt, beyond grief. And now, with it gone, the world seemed slower, duller, weaker. Naruto gritted his teeth. "No more unless I choose." The blade did not argue. It had time. That night, Konoha's council met in secret. Secret, of course, meant Naruto heard them from 3 rooftops away without trying. He stood beneath the shadow of a water tower while their voices drifted through the walls of the administration building. "He is unstable. He saved us. That does not make him safe. Nothing could stop Obito. He did. And what stops him?" Silence. Naruto leaned his head back against the wood. The moon was hidden behind clouds. Inside the council room, fear dressed itself as strategy. Danzo was dead, but men who had agreed with him still breathed. Not openly, not proudly, but they were there, speaking in careful tones about containment, emergency measures, village security. Execution was mentioned once, only once. Then the room went cold because Tsunade's fist broke the table. "You will not speak about him like that." An elder answered, voice trembling but stubborn. "Lady Hawkage, with respect, sentiment cannot guide us. Naruto Uzumaki now possesses an unknown weapon capable of destroying 6 paths chakra constructs. He killed Obito Uchiha. He consumed or erased the Tentails. He may already be beyond our ability to restrain." Kakashi's voice followed. Then maybe don't start by turning him into an enemy. And if he already is one? Naruto closed his eyes. The blade whispered. They fear correctly. Naruto said nothing. Inside, Shikamaru spoke next. If Naruto wanted Konoha gone, this meeting wouldn't be happening. That is not comfort, another elder said. That is proof. The room went silent again. Naruto opened his eyes. He had heard enough. He stepped into the shadow beneath the water tower and emerged inside the council chamber. No one saw him arrive, not even Kakashi. That was the worst part. One moment the corner of the room was empty. The next, Naruto stood there. Every person at the table froze. Tsunade slowly turned. Kakashi's hand moved toward a kunai, then stopped. Sakura, standing near the wall as Tsunade's medical aide, went pale. Naruto smiled, not cruelly. That might have been easier for them. He smiled gently, like someone trying not to scare children. I came to listen. No one spoke. The elders who had suggested execution could not meet his eyes. Naruto looked around the room. He could feel their hearts, fast, hard, uneven. He could feel their chakra systems tightening in fear. He could feel old seals hidden beneath the floor. Emergency suppression arrays. Useless. He knew they were useless the moment he noticed them. The blade noticed too. It learned their grammar in 3 breaths. Naruto looked at Tsunade. I'm not going to hurt anyone, she swallowed. I know, but she did not. They both knew she did not. Naruto's smile faded. That's the problem, isn't it? Sakura took 1 step toward him. Naruto, he looked at her. For a second, her face blurred with memories. Team 7 training fields, her fist driving him into the ground, her smile when he returned from missions. Her crying over Sasuke. Her hands covered in Hinata's blood, his chest ached. The blade recoiled from the ache. It did not understand grief that produced no useful action. Naruto held onto that ache because it was his. I'll leave, he said. Tsunade's eyes sharpened. What? I'll leave the room, Naruto corrected softly, not the village. Relief moved through the council so visibly that Naruto almost laughed. Almost. He turned toward the wall. Then paused. You don't have to decide tonight, no one answered. But when you do decide, Naruto said, don't send people you're not willing to lose. He stepped backward into shadow and disappeared. The meeting ended 7 minutes later. Nothing was decided. Everything had changed. Sasuke found him at midnight on the Hokage monument. Naruto sat on the 4th Hokage stone head, knees drawn up, looking over the village his father had died protecting. Sasuke landed behind him without a sound. You're leaving. Naruto did not turn. Probably. Konoha? Maybe more than Konoha. Sasuke walked to the edge and sat beside him. For a long time they watched the village lights. Then Sasuke said, They're scared. I know. They're right to be. I know. Sasuke looked at him. That's getting annoying. Naruto smiled faintly. Yeah. Wind moved over the monument. Naruto remembered sitting here as a kid, painting the Hokage faces, shouting for attention because being punished was better than being ignored. He remembered Iruka dragging him down, remembered pretending not to care, remembered dreaming that someday everyone would look up and see him. Now they did, and he wanted to disappear. Sasuke held out a scroll. Naruto looked at it. What's that? Routes, safe houses, old Orochimaru locations, Uzumaki ruins I know about. Naruto stared. You planned this fast. I plan faster when my best friend is being eaten by a sword. Naruto flinched. Sasuke did not apologize. Good. Naruto took the scroll for a moment. His fingers brushed Sasuke's. The blade stirred again. Less hungry this time, more cautious. It remembered the Mangekyo looking back. Sasuke noticed. His voice dropped. It's hiding from me now. Naruto looked at him sharply. Sasuke's eyes remained black, not red, but his expression was certain. The first time it wanted me to see it, or didn't know how not to be seen. Now it's covering itself. Naruto looked down at his palm. The black line was still, too still. Fear crawled through him, it learns. Sasuke nodded. Then we have less time than I thought. Naruto gripped the scroll. The old answer returned. Leave with him. Now, find Kurama, find answers, before the hunger became doctrine, before every fearful whisper started sounding reasonable, before the blade's voice and his own became impossible to separate. Naruto opened his mouth. The world shifted in the distance, beyond Konoha, beyond Fire Country, beyond the visible sky. Something moved, not physically, spiritually. A pressure above the world, a lineage, a waiting threat. The blade showed him a shape, pale figures, horned shadows, eyes like moons, hands reaching down toward Earth across centuries. Otsutsuki, Naruto inhaled sharply. Sasuke saw his expression. What? Naruto stood slowly. They're real. Who? The things above Kaguya, above the sage. The ones that come after chakra worlds. Sasuke rose too. How do you know? Naruto looked at the moon. Because the sword knows what it was made to kill. Sasuke's face hardened. All the more reason to leave and understand it. Naruto shook his head. No, if they come, we fight them. You can't. Sasuke stepped forward. Don't do that. Do what? Decide for everyone that you're the only one allowed to carry the ugly answer. Naruto turned on him, and if I'm right, Sasuke did not back down, then be right with us? For a heartbeat, Naruto had no answer. Then the blade whispered, connection slows the cut. Naruto closed his eyes. There it was, so simple, so logical. Friends made him hesitate. Love made him vulnerable. Mercy created future threats. The will of fire said bonds saved the world. The Necrosword said bonds were the reason threats survived long enough to become gods, and the most horrifying part was that Naruto could see both arguments clearly. He opened his eyes. I can't stay near you. Sasuke's expression went blank. Naruto? If I do, one day it'll tell me to cut you, and one day I might agree fast enough that I won't stop myself. Sasuke's hand moved toward his sword, not to attack, to steady himself. Naruto stepped back. Tell Sakura I'm sorry? No. Tell Kakashi-sensei he was right to worry. No. Tell Hinata. His voice failed. The blade pressed gently against his ribs, not forcing, waiting. Naruto swallowed. Tell Hinata I'm glad she lived. Sasuke's eyes turned red. You coward. Naruto smiled. This time it hurt properly. Yeah, Sasuke lunged. Naruto sank into shadow. Sasuke's hand closed on empty air. Naruto reappeared at the base of the monument, already walking toward the village gates. Sasuke's voice echoed down after him. I'll find you. Naruto did not look back. I know. At the gate, Tsunade stood waiting, Kakashi beside her. Sakura too, eyes red, fists clenched. For a moment, Naruto stopped. No one spoke. Then Sakura walked forward and slapped him, hard. The sound cracked through the empty street. Naruto accepted it. Sakura's hand shook. You don't get to vanish like him, she whispered. Naruto knew who she meant. Sasuke, the boy who left, the wound Team 7 never fully healed from. Naruto looked at her. I'm not leaving because I hate this place. Then stay. I'm leaving because I don't. Sakura's eyes filled with tears. She looked like she wanted to hit him again. Instead, she grabbed his jacket and pulled him into a hug. Naruto froze. Her arms were tight around him, human. Warm, real. He felt the hug. He did. But it reached him strangely, like sound traveling through water. He remembered what it should mean. He remembered being the kind of person who would cling back and cry and promise everything would be okay. Slowly, carefully, Naruto raised one arm and hugged her back. Sakura stiffened, because she felt it too. The motion was correct. The warmth was missing. She pulled away, horrified and heartbroken. Naruto could not look at her. Kakashi stepped forward next. He placed one hand on Naruto's shoulder. You come back, Kakashi said, not a request, not an order. A sensei trying to leave a path open. Naruto nodded. I'll try. Tsunade's face was carved from stone, but her eyes were wet. You are still a shinobi of Konoha. Naruto almost laughed. The title felt too small now. Still, he bowed his head. Yes, Granny. That broke something in her expression. For 1 second, she looked like she might pull him into a hug too. Instead, she stepped aside. The gates opened. Naruto walked through, no cheering this time, no victory cries, only silence. As he crossed the threshold, he felt Hinata wake in the hospital. Her soul flickered brighter. She knew. Somehow, she knew he was leaving. Naruto stopped. He almost turned back. The blade waited, patient, rational, hungry. Naruto kept walking behind him on the Hokage Tower. Tsunade watched his figure disappear into the dark road beyond Konoha. Then she turned to Kakashi. Send the hawk. Kakashi's visible eye lowered. To who? Tsunade looked toward the north, the land of iron. Sakura wiped her face. You're calling a summit? Tsunade did not answer immediately. Far beyond the gates, Naruto's presence faded into the night. The hero who had saved the world, the weapon that might end it. Finally, Tsunade said, "The Kage need to know what we're facing." Kakashi's voice was quiet. "And if they decide he has to die," Tsunade closed her eyes. For a moment, she looked older than the village itself. "Then may the gods help them." Far away, walking alone beneath a moonless sky, Naruto heard the words as clearly as if she had spoken beside him. The black line across his palm opened. The blade slid out just enough to taste the night. Naruto looked down at it. "No more tonight," he said. The blade did not answer. It did not need to. Somewhere above the clouds, ancient things waited. Somewhere behind him, everyone he loved prepared to fear him. And somewhere ahead, the hunger walked with his feet. Chapter 4, the 5 crowns snow fell over the land of iron like the world was trying to cover its own fear. It came down in soft white sheets, drifting across the mountain passes, settling on the roofs of old samurai halls, gathering along the edges of stone steps polished by generations of armored feet. The land of iron had always been neutral ground, a place where shinobi entered carefully, spoke carefully, and remembered that even nations built on violence needed rooms where blades stayed sheathed. Today, every blade in the country wanted out. The summit chamber sat at the heart of an old fortress carved into the mountain itself. Thick wooden beams crossed the ceiling. Iron lanterns burned with steady orange light. Samurai stood along the walls in full armor, motionless except for the faint rise and fall of their breath. At the center of the room stood a circular table. Around it sat the remaining leaders of the shinobi world, 5 seats, 5 nations, 5 crowns without comfort. Tsunade Senju sat with both hands folded in front of her. She looked stronger than she had any right to look after the war, but Sakura, standing behind her, knew the truth. Tsunade's chakra was still recovering. The creation-rebirth seal on her forehead was dimmer than it should have been. Every breath cost her more than she showed. Beside the Hokage's chair stood Kakashi Hatake. He was not there as Hokage, not yet, not officially. He was there because Tsunade trusted his eye more than the reports of any scout, and because he had seen Naruto after the battlefield before almost anyone else understood there was something to fear. Gaara of the Sand sat quiet, hands resting on the table, green eyes lowered. Sand moved around his chair in slow, silent streams, not because he commanded it, but because it reacted to his mood. The grains did not settle. They circled him like anxious animals. Anoki hovered slightly above his seat, arms crossed, old face carved into a grim mask. He had seen more wars than some nations had history. He had outlived enemies, allies, children, students, and ideals. Yet today, the old Tsuchikage looked less like a mountain and more like a man standing at the edge of one. The Raikage, stood instead of sitting. He had not removed his cloak. His remaining arm was folded across his chest, shoulders tense, jaw locked. Lightning chakra occasionally flickered across his skin, not enough to damage the room, but enough that the samurai nearest him kept their hands close to their swords. May Terumi sat last, her face calm in the way only a Kage's face could be calm while everything behind it burned. The Mizukage's eyes were sharp, but there was grief under them. Kirigakure had sent seal masters ahead of her. Some had not slept in 3 days. Mifune stood at the head of the chamber. The old samurai leader looked at each of them in turn. "The summit is called under emergency authority," he said. "One subject, Naruto Uzumaki." No one spoke immediately. Outside, the wind pushed snow against the shutters. Finally, Anoki opened his eyes. "Say the rest." Mifune's expression did not change. "The subject is whether Naruto Uzumaki can be contained, cured, or killed." Sakura's hands curled into fists. Kakashi noticed, but did not look at her. The Raikage slammed his fist onto the table hard enough to crack the wood. "Don't pretty it up. The boy is a walking disaster." Tsunade's eyes flashed. "Careful," a turn toward her. "No, you be careful, Hokage. Your village raised him. Your village lost control of him. Now every nation has to decide how many people die because Konoha wants to call a weapon a child. The room went cold. Sakura stepped forward. Don't talk about him like that. The Raikage looked at her. To his credit, he did not dismiss her as a girl, not anymore. The war had changed how people looked at Sakura Haruno, but he did not soften either. I saw what he did to the Ten-Tails. So did I, Sakura said. Then you know I'm right. Sakura's voice lowered. I know he saved us. And now, Anoki asked. Everyone turned to him. The old Tsuchikage's gaze was on Tsunade. What is he now? Tsunade did not answer quickly. That was answer enough. Gaara finally spoke. He is still Naruto. The Raikage scoffed. Gaara's eyes lifted. I am not saying that as comfort. I am saying it because forgetting that will get us killed faster. May nodded slightly. The reports agree. He avoids civilian areas. He has not attacked any village. He has not demanded surrender, tribute, or political authority. He walked into our council chamber without being detected, Tsunade said quietly. He heard every word we spoke from outside the building. He knew our seals before we activated them. He could have killed every person in that room. The Raikage leaned forward. Exactly. Tsunade's eyes hardened. He didn't. The Raikage's voice dropped. Because he chose not to. That is not safety. That is mercy. Mercy changes. Kakashi finally spoke, so does fear. Everyone looked at him. Kakashi stood with his hands in his pockets, voice calm, eye tired. If we build this plan around fear alone, we will create the enemy we're trying to prevent. Anoki gave a humorless laugh. Hatache, the enemy already exists, whether the boy wants to be one or not. Gaara's sand shifted faster. What are the options? That pulled the room back into purpose. Mifune gestured toward the table. Scrolls were opened. Maps spread. Seal diagrams unrolled in layered circles. May spoke first. Kirigakure's seal masters prepared a binding array based on old Uzumaki structures recovered after the fall of Whirlpool. It is incomplete, but strong enough to hold a tailed beast for several seconds. Sakura looked at the diagram. Only several seconds. The words sat like stones. Anoki tapped another scroll. I have built a particle-style execution platform, not a single beam, a containment field. If he is immobilized, even briefly, we reduce the area inside to nothing. Gaara's sand rose slightly. My sand will be used to restrict movement. Every grain I brought from the sand is marked with layered suppression formulas. It will not hold him forever. No one expects forever, May said. The Raikage looked toward the back of the chamber. Killer Bee is hidden 2 countries away with the Nine-Tails. Tsunade's eyes narrowed. You brought Kurama? I brought my brother, the Raikage snapped. And the only tailed beast left with enough sense to know what we're facing. Kakashi's visible eye sharpened. Kurama agreed to this. The Raikage's face twisted. No, which tells you how bad it is. He wanted to come here himself. Then why isn't he here? Sakura asked. Because the sword inside Naruto eats Biju chakra, Gaara answered softly. The chamber fell silent again. There it was. The truth no one wanted to shape with words. Naruto was not simply dangerous to armies. He was dangerous to the foundations of their world. Tsunade placed one hand on the table. My medical division has prepared emergency cellular disruption tags. They were designed to counter Hashirama cell regeneration. Anoki looked at her. And will they work? No, no hesitation, no false hope. They may slow him for a breath. The Raikage bared his teeth. This is pathetic. This is reality, May said sharply. Mifune looked around the table. So the plan is layered pressure, sand restraint, mist sealing array, lightning assault to force movement, particle-style execution when an opening appears, medical disruption tags if he regenerates, samurai perimeter to prevent civilian interference. And if all of that fails? Kakashi asked. No one answered. Outside, the snow kept falling. Then Sakura said, I want to talk to him first. Tsunade closed her eyes. Sakura, no. Sakura stepped fully to the table. You're all talking like he's already gone, like the only Naruto left is the sword. But if there's even a chance he can still choose, the Raikage cut in. Then he can choose to surrender. Sakura looked at him, and if he does, the Raikage did not answer, because they all knew the truth. If Naruto surrendered, they still had no prison that could hold him, no seal they trusted. No cure, no safe mercy, only delay. Gaara's voice was quiet. Sakura is right. Anoki frowned. You too. Gaara did not flinch. I'm saying that if we begin with violence, we lose the strongest part of our plan. And what is that? The Raikage asked. Gaara looked toward the closed chamber doors. Naruto himself. The words settled. Kakashi looked down. Tsunade's jaw tightened. Sakura held onto the idea like it was a rope over a cliff. Then every lantern in the room flickered. The samurai along the walls shifted, not because of wind, not because of chakra, because something had entered the fortress. Kakashi's hand moved to his kunai. Gaara's sand rose. The Raikage's lightning cloak snapped alive. Mifune turned toward the doors. They opened. Naruto walked in alone, no cloak, no armor, no dramatic entrance. Snow dusted his shoulders. His sandals left wet marks on the polished floor. His face was calm, almost gentle. His right hand was bare. The black line across his palm was closed. No one spoke. Naruto looked around the chamber. Five Kage, Samurai, Kakashi, Sakura. For a moment, his eyes rested on her. Something in his face almost broke. Then it smoothed again. I came to talk, Naruto said. The Raikage's lightning grew brighter. Nobody believed him. Naruto smiled faintly. I know. Mifune's voice was steady. How did you enter the fortress? Naruto glanced back at the doors as if noticing them for the first time. I walked. One of the samurai near the wall swallowed. Naruto had passed through 3 armored gates, 6 sensor barriers, 4 detection seals, and a mountain perimeter guarded by hundreds. He had walked. Tsunade stood. Naruto, he looked at her. Granny. The word hit harder than any threat could have. For half a second, Tsunade saw the boy who had demanded ramen, shouted about becoming Hokage, and smiled like the world could not afford to stay cruel forever. Then she saw the stillness behind his eyes. She remained standing. Naruto, she repeated, softer this time. What do you want? He looked at the empty space between the cage. I want an answer. Anoki's eyes narrowed. To what question? Naruto walked to the table. No one stopped him, not because they trusted him. Because every person in the room felt the same animal truth at once. Stopping him was no longer a gesture. It was a decision to die. Naruto sat in the empty space between them, like a guest invited to his own execution. He folded his hands. The sword is alive, he said. The room went very still. It was under Uzashio, older than chakra, older than the sage. My clan was connected to it somehow, maybe bred for it, maybe changed by it, I don't know. Sakura's throat tightened. Naruto continued. It feeds on power, not bodies, not blood, essence, divine weight. Biju, 6 paths chakra, Otsutsuki. Black Zetsu, hidden far beyond the fortress in the shadow of a frozen pine, heard that word through a white Zetsu's senses. And for the first time in centuries, fear became more important than patience. Inside the chamber, Naruto looked down at his hands. It doesn't lie. Kakashi's eye narrowed. What does it promise? Naruto's mouth twitched. That's the problem. It already kept its promises. No one interrupted. Hinata lived. Abaito died. The Ten-Tails is gone. The war ended. Every terrible thing it showed me how to stop stopped. His voice remained calm. That calm made the words unbearable. But I'm changing. I know I am. I think things now that I wouldn't have thought before. I look at people and part of me measures them. Sakura whispered. Measures them how? Naruto did not look at her. By what cutting them would give. The Raikage took one step forward. Tsunade snapped. Don't. Naruto did not react. I don't want to hurt you, he said. Any of you, but the sword isn't done. And the worst part is, he looked up. His eyes were still blue, but the blue looked far away. I'm starting to understand why. Anoki's face hardened. Naruto turned to him. You know the Otsutsuki are real. The old Tsuchikage said nothing. You know Kaguya wasn't a myth. You know the Ten-Tails came from somewhere. You know something like that doesn't happen once and then politely leave the world alone forever. Gaara's eyes lowered. Naruto's voice remained even. They'll come. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in 10 years, but they'll come. The sword knows them. It was made to kill things like them. Mei spoke carefully, and after them, Naruto looked at her. That question had weight. He respected it. I don't know. Mei's eyes sharpened. Yes, you do. The room held its breath. Naruto looked away first. After a long silence, he said, "After them, it will look for the next thing strong enough to matter." "And when there is nothing left?" Gaara asked. Naruto's hands tightened. "Then maybe the world is safe." Sakura flinched, not because he shouted, because he didn't. The words came out like something reasonable, something he had thought about, something he feared and believed at the same time. Tsunade's voice broke slightly. "Naruto, that isn't peace." Naruto looked at her. "No, but it might be stable." The Raikage moved. It was not rage alone, it was training. Calculation. A leader realizing words had reached their edge. His lightning cloak erupted, blue, white, and violent, and he crossed the space faster than most eyes could follow. His fist drove toward Naruto's head with enough force to shatter stone. Naruto did not stand. The black line across his palm opened. Sakura shouted, "No!" The Necrosword came out, just enough. The Raikage's lightning cloak touched its edge. The lightning died, not dispersed, not absorbed. Severed from his nervous system. A's body locked mid-strike. For one impossible second, the strongest man in Kumagakure stood frozen inches from Naruto's face, his own chakra refusing to obey him. Naruto looked genuinely sad. "You shouldn't have started with him," he said to the room. Then everything happened. Gaara's sand exploded upward, wrapping around Naruto from every direction. Thousands of grains marked with suppression formulas layered over his arms, legs, throat, chest. The seals ignited gold against black cloth. May slammed her hands together. Water filled the chamber from hidden scrolls beneath the floor, rising into a circular prison around Naruto. Acid mist rolled through it, followed by lava chakra shaped into binding chains. Anoki lifted both hands. A cube of light formed between his palms. Particle style. Sakura threw 3 disruption tags at Naruto's shadow. Kakashi moved at the same time, lightning blade forming in his hand. Not aimed at Naruto's heart, but at the floor beneath him, at one of the anchoring points of the old Uzumaki-style seal. They had planned well. That was the heartbreaking part. If Naruto had been anything else, it might have worked. For almost 4 seconds, it did. The sand held. The mist burned. The seals wrapped tight. The particle cube expanded. Naruto sat inside the layered prison with his head bowed, black sword resting across his knees. Then the blade learned the first seal. The golden formulas on the sand blinked out. Gaara gasped as if something had reached through his chest. His sand did not fall immediately. It tried to hold by loyalty alone. Naruto whispered, "I'm sorry." The sand became glass, then dust. May's acid mist touched the blade next. The mist forgot it was acid. It became water vapor, harmless and cold. Her lava chains followed. They cooled in midair, not into stone, but into nothing with the memory of stone. Anoki shouted and released particle style. The cube swallowed Naruto. For one breath, there was light, pure, merciless light. Then a black line appeared down its center. The cube opened, not broken, opened like a door. Naruto stepped through. The chamber floor cracked beneath him. Kakashi drove Reikiri toward the seal anchor. Naruto turned. Their eyes met. Student and teacher. For half a heartbeat, Kakashi saw the boy under the blade. He saw Naruto begging him silently to stop. He saw the sword begging for the opposite. Kakashi changed his angle. The Reikiri struck the floor, shattering the anchor. A containment ring flared to life around Naruto's feet. Kakashi's trap, not in the official plan, something he had built himself. Old Uzumaki script, copied from fragments, powered by his own chakra and blood. The ring closed around Naruto. The Necrosword recoiled. For the first time in the battle, Naruto screamed. Not from pain, from separation. The blade pulled one way, the seal pulled another. Kakashi's eye widened. "It's working!" Sakura's heart leapt. Tsunade lunged forward, creation rebirth flaring across her body, chakra gathering into one final strike meant to knock Naruto fully into the seal. Then the blade stopped fighting the seal, it read it. Kakashi's face went pale. Oh no. The black sword shifted, the seal grammar changed color. One symbol turned, then another. Then the entire ring inverted. Kakashi's blood-powered array collapsed into itself. The backlash threw him across the room. Sakura caught him before he hit the wall. Naruto stood in the broken circle, breathing hard. For a moment he looked young, terrified. Then the sword pulsed, and Shadow Sage opened. Black swallowed his eyes. A cloak of tendrils rose around him. The air in the chamber dropped to winter-deep cold. The Raikage roared and forced his body forward despite the severed lightning cloak. Pure muscle. Pure will, no hesitation. He reached Naruto. Naruto's blade moved once. Stopped. His remaining hand landed on Naruto's shoulder. For 1 second, the Raikage looked almost proud, not because he had won, because he had reached him. Then his body failed. Naruto lowered him gently to the floor. No spectacle, no cruelty. Just the end of a man who had never learned how to retreat. Mei shouted in grief and rage, forming a boiling wave large enough to fill the room. Naruto turned toward her. For the first time, his expression shifted. Her red hair moved in the heat. Not Kushina's shade exactly, not her face. Not her voice, but enough. Enough that something old in Naruto's heart rose violently against the blade. He cut the jutsu, not her. The steam cleared. Mei fell to her knees, alive, shaking. Naruto looked away before the blade could argue. Anoki attacked next, not with particle style, with his body. The old man flew straight at Naruto, fists covered in earth-weighted chakra, tears streaming down his face. "You were supposed to be the future," Anoki shouted. Naruto did not defend himself at first. Anoki's fist struck his chest. The impact cracked the floor beneath them. Naruto barely moved. The old Tsuchikage hit him again and again and again. "You were supposed to prove us wrong." Naruto's face twisted. For one moment, Shadow Sage flickered. Blue eyes appeared beneath the black. "I tried," Naruto whispered. Anoki's face broke. "I know." Then the blade moved. The Tsuchikage fell. Gaara was last. He did not rush. He did not shout. He stood surrounded by the remnants of his sand, eyes locked on Naruto's. "Naruto." The name struck harder than any jutsu. Naruto turned. Gaara's voice was calm. "I know what it is to carry a monster inside you." The blade tightened around Naruto's arm. Gaara stepped closer. "I know what it is to mistake its voice for your own." Naruto's breathing changed. Sakura, still holding Kakashi up, whispered, "Gaara, don't!" Gaara continued walking. The sand did not attack. It spread across the floor beneath them in a wide circle, gentle as desert wind. "You saved me once," Gaara said. "Not by defeating Shukaku, not by overpowering me. You saved me because you saw me when I had forgotten how to be seen." Naruto's hand shook. The sword lowered an inch. Gaara smiled faintly. "So I will return that favor." The sand circle flared, not a binding seal, a mirror. Every grain reflected memory. Naruto saw himself at 12 years old, standing across from Gaara after their fight, bruised and exhausted but still reaching. He saw the boy who had understood loneliness and refused to let it become a grave. He saw Gaara crying for the first time. He saw a hand offered instead of a blade. The Necrosword shrieked, not aloud, inside him. It hated the memory because the memory had no yield, no strategy, no divine weight, no practical value except the one thing it could not digest, connection. Naruto staggered back. "Stop," he choked. Gaara stepped closer. "Naruto, come back." The blade surged, the sword rose, Naruto fought it. For 3 seconds he held, 3 full seconds. Long enough for everyone in the room to see the battle inside him, long enough for Sakura to believe, long enough for Kakashi to try to stand, long enough for Tsunade to whisper, "Come on, brat!" Then the hunger won the hand, the blade crossed the space. Gaara's sand moved to protect him. It was not enough. The Kazekage fell quietly. Naruto caught him before he hit the floor, just as he had caught Abido, just as he had once caught enemies and friends and impossible burdens. Gaara's eyes remained open. He looked at Naruto without hate. That made it worse. Naruto's Shadow Sage collapsed. His eyes returned to blue. For one awful moment, Naruto held Gaara in his arms and understood exactly what he had done. The room was silent except for Sakura's sob. Tsunade stood behind the broken table. Creation rebirth marks fading from her face. She was wounded, shaking, but alive. No, not alive because Naruto spared her. Alive because the blade had taken what it needed elsewhere first. Naruto looked at Tsunade. He saw the Hokage, the last Senju, a woman who had lost everyone and still gambled on tomorrow. The blade whispered, "Kage, Senju." High value. Naruto's eyes went empty. Tsunade lifted her chin. "Do it then." Sakura screamed, "No!" Naruto stood slowly. The sword trembled. His hand trembled harder. Tsunade looked at him with fury, grief, and something painfully close to love. "You want to prove you're gone," she said. "Then do it." Naruto took one step, then stopped. His gaze shifted to Sakura. She stood in front of Kakashi now, arms wide, crying openly, terrified and still refusing to move. A memory rose. Sakura hugging him at the gate, the motion correct, the warmth missing, not gone, missing. Something inside Naruto recoiled. He turned away. "No," the blade pressed. Naruto's voice sharpened. "I said no." The chamber shook. For one moment it seemed the sword might turn on him from the inside. Then it withdrew slightly, not defeated, delayed. Naruto looked at Mei, alive in the steam. At Tsunade, standing by force of will alone. At Sakura, at Kakashi, at the bodies of the fallen Kage. The blade pulsed. Tier 2 became Tier 3. No light announced it, no thunder. The world simply changed pressure. Across the continent, every sensor nin gasped. In a forest 2 countries away, Kurama's head snapped up. His diminished body shuddered as he felt the spiritual sky darken. Beside him, Killer Bee stopped walking. "What happened?" Kurama's lips pulled back from his teeth. He climbed. Back in the land of iron, Naruto stepped over the shattered table and walked toward the doors. No one stopped him. At the threshold, Sakura's voice broke through the silence. "Naruto," he paused. She had one hand pressed against Kakashi's wound, but her eyes were on him. Was it worth it? The question struck him in the spine. For a moment, the answer should have been no. It should have been immediate. It should have been the only human answer left. Naruto looked back. His face was calm again. "That's what scares me," he said softly. "I don't know any more." Then he walked out into the snow. The fortress gates opened for him because the guards could not see him until he was already past them. Outside, the land of iron stretched white and silent beneath the mountain sky. Naruto walked alone through fresh snow. Behind him, 4 crowns lay broken. Mei lived. Tsunade lived. But the age of Kage had ended. The blade rested beneath his skin, satisfied but not full, never full. Naruto stopped halfway down the mountain path. Snow gathered in his hair. He looked up at the clouds. Beyond them, beyond the moon, beyond the world, he could feel the shape of a larger threat. The Otsutsuki Kaguya, the bright hunger above. His voice came out quiet at first. "The threats from above will come." No one was there to hear him. Still he spoke. "They always come." The words steadied as they left his mouth. The Kage could not have stopped them. The villages could not have stopped them. The sage left a world full of weapons and called it peace. The blade listened. The snow listened. Naruto's eyes darkened. "I can stop them." A pause. This was necessary. His jaw tightened. This was kind. The horror was not that he lied. The horror was that he believed it. Above him, hidden among the branches of a frozen pine, Black Zetsu watched from the body of a white Zetsu scout. For 2,000 years, he had moved history like a patient hand moving pieces across a board. Empires rose. Clans fell. Madara was guided. Abaito was shaped. The infinite Tsukuyomi was supposed to bring Mother back. But now the board had changed. This boy was not a piece. He was a blade laid across the game itself. Black Zetsu sank backward into the tree's shadow. For the first time in his long, secret life, his mission changed. Not awaken Kaguya, not manipulate Madara, not complete the Eye of the Moon, warn Mother. Run. Behind him, Naruto continued down the mountain. Each step left a black mark in the snow, not blood, not shadow, a promise. The world had survived the war. Now it had to survive its savior. Chapter 5, The Hunt Above the Sky. Naruto did not return to Konoha after the Land of Iron. Not immediately. For 3 days, he walked north. He crossed frozen passes where no birds flew. He passed old shrines half buried in snow, their names forgotten by everyone except the stones. He moved through abandoned roads and silent forests, leaving behind no campfires, no footprints that lasted more than a few minutes, and no witnesses who could say with certainty that they had seen him. The world below him was changing. He could feel it, not through reports, not through messengers, not through the old network of shinobi intelligence that had once decided the fate of nations in hidden rooms. He felt it in the weight of souls. After the Five Kage summit, fear spread faster than news. Villages shut their gates before they knew why. Clan compounds reinforced seals that could not stop him. Temples rang bells at strange hours. Civilians prayed to gods their grandparents had forgotten. Shinobi who had survived the war woke from nightmares with their hands around weapons. Naruto felt all of it. Every tremor, every whispered name. Every child asking why their parents looked scared when the hero of the war was mentioned. He told himself he did not care, then corrected himself. He cared. Somewhere inside him, he still cared. The problem was that caring had become quieter. Before the shrine, caring had been fire. Loud, bright, impossible to ignore. It filled his chest and moved his body before thought could catch up. He had thrown himself between enemies and friends because that was what his heart did naturally. Now caring was a candle behind thick glass, visible, real, but distant. The hunger was closer. The hunger had language now, not words exactly, though sometimes it wore words when it wanted him to understand quickly. Most of the time it spoke in direction, in pressure, in the simple, brutal clarity of a blade pointed toward the next necessary cut, above. That was where it wanted him to look. Always above. At night when clouds parted, Naruto stared at the stars and felt them staring back. Not the stars themselves. The roads between them. The old paths that chakra had traveled before it ever rooted itself in earth. The trails of pale beings who crossed dimensions like shinobi crossed rivers. The distant taste of a clan that had called themselves divine for so long that even their children believed it before they could speak. Otsutsuki. The name no longer felt like history, it felt like scent. On the fourth night, Naruto stopped at the edge of a frozen lake. The moon hung high above the water, a perfect white eye. Naruto stood barefoot on the ice. He did not remember removing his sandals. They were behind him somewhere, left in the snow. The cold did not touch him anymore unless he let it. His reflection stared up from the lake, blue eyes, blonde hair, whisker marks. A torn jacket repaired by shadow threads that moved when he was not looking. He looked like Naruto Uzumaki if the world had forgotten to color in the warmth. The black line across his palm opened. The Necrosword slid out slowly. It did not take the shape of a full blade at first. It curled around his wrist, then spread across his forearm in thin, living strands. Each strand pointed upward. Naruto looked at the moon. "Kaguya," he said. The name moved across the ice like a crack. The sword answered with hunger. Naruto closed his eyes. Images rose behind them. A woman with white hair and eyes like winter moons. A fruit glowing red against a dead tree. A world kneeling beneath roots. Sons turning against their mother. A seal cast toward the sky. A bloodline scattered through centuries. Clans born from divine leftovers. Wars dressed as human choice. Then other images came, a dimension of white towers and floating roads. Pale figures in layered robes. Children with horns too small for their heads. Markets under artificial suns, soldiers carrying weapons made from bones of dead worlds, a throne room brighter than day. Kaguya standing before a council, not as a goddess, but as a fugitive who had been afraid for 1,000 years. Naruto opened his eyes. She's alive. The blade did not deny it. In this broken path of history, the old stories had shifted. Obito had been severed before the final chain of events could force Kaguya's return through the Ten Tails and Madara. Black Zetsu had fled upward before finishing his ancient plan. The mother of chakra was not sealed inside the moon. Not here, not now. She was above the world, warned too late, preparing for the thing she had always feared would rise from Earth's deep places. Naruto lifted the sword. The edge touched the air. Reality resisted. For the first time since the Land of Iron, the blade did not cut easily. The boundary between Earth and the higher dimensions was not a wall. It was an agreement, a law written before Shinobi understood what laws were. Worlds stayed apart because existence said they should. The Necrosword hated agreements. Naruto pressed harder. The air split, not with light, with absence. A vertical wound opened above the frozen lake. Beyond it was no simple portal, no swirling space-time jutsu, no Kamui doorway. It was a place where the idea of distance had been cut and the two edges forced close enough to step across. Wind rushed toward the wound. The lake cracked beneath Naruto's feet. For a moment he hesitated, not because he feared what waited beyond, because he knew that after this step there might be no pretending. Until now, every terrible act could be tied to the war. Abaito, the Ten-Tails, the summit, defense, emergency, desperation. But this was invasion, this was hunting, this was choosing to go upward with a blade made to kill gods. A memory stirred. Sasuke on the Hokage monument, be right with us. Naruto's fingers tightened. I'm protecting them. The words sounded thin in the cold. The blade answered with approval. That made him hate the words. Still, he stepped through. The Otsutsuki home dimension was not hell. That was the first cruelty. It would have been easier if it had been. Naruto emerged onto a white stone platform suspended in a sky that had no single sun. Light came from everywhere and nowhere. Above him floated islands of carved silver rock, connected by bridges thin as glass. Towers rose upside down from the undersides of clouds. Rivers moved through the air in slow spirals, carrying glowing petals and small boats without sails. Far below, a city spread across a vast floating continent. It was beautiful. That annoyed the blade. Naruto stood at the platform's edge and looked down. The city was alive. Markets filled wide streets. Figures in pale robes moved between stalls selling crystal fruit, memory scrolls, bone-white instruments, and living seeds kept inside glass spheres. Children ran through courtyards, their small horns polished and decorated with colored bands. Elders sat beneath floating lamps, their Byakugan-like eyes clouded with age. Warriors moved along rooftops, but not all of them looked cruel. Some looked bored, some looked young, some laughed. Naruto's chest tightened, the sword shifted in his hand. It did not care to the blade. The dimension was not a city, it was a field of weight. Some souls were small. Children, servants, farmers, scholars, civilians, if that word could apply here. Others were bright with divine pressure. Otsutsuki nobles, harvesters, planet-eaters, names the blade recognized only as food. Naruto stepped off the platform. He fell. Wind roared past him. Black tendrils opened from his back like an inverted cloak, slowing his descent. He landed on the roof of a white tower without cracking the stone. Someone saw him. A young Otsutsuki guard with short horns and a spear of polished bone. Their eyes met. The guard froze, not because he knew Naruto's face, because the weapon in Naruto's hand reached something deeper than memory. The guard opened his mouth to shout. Naruto moved first. Not with the blade, with his hand. He struck the guard in the chest, knocking him unconscious before the alarm could sound. The guard collapsed, alive. Naruto stared at him. The blade pulsed in irritation. Not him, Naruto said. The sword's edge trembled. Low yield. Irrelevant. Then stop asking. The blade went still. That was not obedience. That was patience. Alarms began anyway, not from the guard, from the dimension itself. The moment Naruto had cut through the boundary, every ancient defense woven into the Otsutsuki realm had awakened. High above the city, rings of script burned across the sky. Towers shifted. Bridges folded away from civilian districts. White-armored soldiers appeared on rooftops, in streets, on floating platforms. Naruto looked toward the center of the city. A palace rose there. Not the tallest structure, but the heaviest. A throne waited inside, and near it, Kaguya. Naruto started walking. In the palace of the Bright Clan, Kaguya Otsutsuki sat beneath a ceiling that showed every world her people had ever marked for harvest. Earth was among them, a blue-green sphere, small and bright, pulsing with chakra threads that had grown far beyond what the clan had predicted. Around Kaguya stood her council. Some were old enough to remember when Earth was first classified as a seed world. Some were young enough to think Kaguya's fear was superstition. All of them had fallen silent when Black Zetsu finished speaking. Black Zetsu clung to the floor like spilled ink given eyes. His voice trembled with hatred and urgency. "He has the deep blade." An elder with long, curved horns frowned. "The weapon is myth." Black Zetsu's yellow eye narrowed. Obito Uchiha was not myth. The Ten Tails was not myth. The Five Kage were not myth. He cut through them all. A younger Otsutsuki laughed. Momoshiki. His robes were immaculate. His pale face held the lazy arrogance of someone who had never met a thing he could not consume, refine, or dismiss. Then Earth has finally produced an interesting animal. Kaguya's gaze shifted to him. Momoshiki stopped smiling. For all his pride, he was not foolish enough to ignore the fear in her eyes. Kaguya stood. The chamber obeyed her movement. Floating lights dimmed. The star map ceiling shifted until Earth filled the space above them. "I told you," she said. Her voice was soft. No one moved. "I told all of you what slept below that world." One counselor lowered his gaze. Another looked away. Kaguya's fingers curled. "You called it paranoia. You called my army excessive. You called the divine tree harvest inefficient. You called the infinite dream a waste of livestock." Black Zetsu bowed his head. Mother's voice did not rise. That made it worse. "I was not building a kingdom," Kaguya said. "I was building a wall." The chamber shook. A distant alarm rang through the palace. Naruto's presence pressed against the dimension like knights spreading under a door. Momoshiki turned toward the sound, his mouth curving again despite himself. "Then let us see the wall breaker." Kaguya closed her eyes. For a moment she looked impossibly tired. Then she opened them. "Evacuate the lower rings. Move the children through the eastern paths. Seal all garden districts. No civilian blood is to be wasted." A warlord with heavy horns stepped forward. "You intend defense." "I intend survival." "And if he can be killed," Kaguya looked toward the palace doors. "Then kill him before he learns." Those words reached every warrior in the room. Before he learns, not before he wins, not before he overpowers, before he learns. That was the true warning. The thing coming for them did not merely destroy techniques, it studied them. Momoshiki rolled his shoulders. "Then I shall not give him time." He vanished in a flash of pale space-time. Kaguya looked at Black Zetsu. "You should not have come back." Black Zetsu lowered his eye. "I came to warn you." "You came because your plan failed." His form trembled. Kaguya reached down and touched the top of his shadowed head with something almost like tenderness. "My child," she said quietly, "both can be true." Then the palace roof exploded inward. Momoshiki met Naruto above the central market. He descended from the sky on a platform of folded space, red Rinnegan gleaming in his palms. Around them, civilians fled through white stone streets. Soldiers formed rings in the air, trying to contain the battle before it reached the lower districts. Naruto stood atop a bridge that curved between two towers. Momoshiki looked him over. Blonde hair, torn shinobi clothing, human body, ugly black weapon. His lip curled. "This is the creature." Naruto did not answer. Momoshiki lifted one hand. "I expected something taller." He fired a compressed blast of stolen elemental force, not one nature. Many, fire, lightning, wind, earth, and something colder than ice twisted together into a spear of refined destruction. Naruto raised the Necrosword. The spear struck. The first layer died instantly. Fire forgot flame. Lightning forgot motion. Wind forgot direction. But beneath them, Momoshiki had hidden absorption chakra, folded backward like a hook. The moment the blade severed the attack, the hook caught the hunger. Naruto's eyes widened. For the first time, someone pulled back. Momoshiki's palm Rinnegan flared red. A thin stream of black essence tore from the Necrosword's edge and spiraled into his hand. The blade screamed. Naruto staggered. Pain ripped through his arm. Momoshiki's smile sharpened. "Oh," he said, "so it can bleed." Naruto looked up. For the first time since entering the dimension, his eyes were fully human and furious. The bridge beneath him cracked. Shadow Sage erupted, black eyes. White star points. Negative space markings crawling across his face. A cloak of tendrils whipping in every direction. Mamoshiki's smile remained. Better. He absorbed the first tendril, then the second, then the third. Each one twisted into his palm and came back as a bright black lance. Naruto dodged one, cut another. The third grazed his side and opened a wound that did not immediately close. Real pain. Naruto almost smiled. The blade did not. Momoshiki lunged, one red palm reaching for Naruto's face. Naruto shifted aside and drove a knee into his ribs. The Otsutsuki folded, but only slightly. He spat blood, laughed, and released the stolen hunger directly into Naruto's chest. For 1 second, Naruto saw himself from outside his body. A boy, a sword, a mistake moving through history. Then the Necrosword changed tactics. It stopped attacking Momoshiki's jutsu. It attacked Momoshiki's ability to contain it. Naruto grabbed Momoshiki's wrist. The red Rinnegan in his palm widened. A black line crossed the eye. Momoshiki's smile vanished. No, the palm eye split, not physically, conceptually. Its absorption lost the meaning of absorption. The stolen hunger rushed back into the blade and brought some of Momoshiki with it. The Otsutsuki prodigy screamed. Naruto stepped close. "I don't want your city," Momoshiki gasped, trying to pull away. Naruto's voice was low. "I want the ones who would come for mine." For the first time, Momoshiki looked genuinely insulted. "You think we need permission?" The blade moved. Momoshiki fell from the bridge and vanished before he hit the street. The soldiers above went silent. Naruto looked toward the palace. The blade pulsed, fed, but not enough. Never enough. The siege began after Momoshiki fell. No more testing. The Otsutsuki struck as a civilization that had survived by harvesting worlds and calling it order. The first wave came with bone lances fired from floating towers. Each lance carried decay laws designed to age entire battlefields into dust. Naruto cut the first 100. The next 100 adapted, splitting before contact, curving around the blade's edge. 2 struck him through the shoulder, 1 through the thigh. The wounds burned white. Naruto fell to one knee. The city roared with defensive chants. For a moment, hope lifted among the soldiers. Then Naruto stood. The bones dissolved from his body, but slower than usual. The blade took 3 seconds to understand them. 3 seconds mattered. A second wave arrived in those 3 seconds. Kinshiki landed like a falling mountain. He was enormous, wrapped in battle robes, red weapon forming in his hands. Unlike Momoshiki, he did not mock. He attacked with the discipline of a warrior who understood death was in the room. His chakra weapon met the Necrosword. The impact shattered every window in 3 towers. Naruto slid backward across the street. Kinshiki pressed again. Each strike was heavy enough to break mountains, clean enough to leave no wasted motion. Naruto parried, but the city around them suffered from the force. Buildings cracked, floating roads tilted. Civilians screamed from evacuation bridges. Naruto noticed. The blade did not. Kinshiki noticed Naruto noticing. The next strike angled not toward Naruto, but toward a bridge filled with fleeing children. Naruto moved without thinking. He cut the attack before it reached them. Kinshiki was already there. His fist drove into Naruto's chest and launched him through a white stone wall. Naruto crashed into a courtyard of silver trees. For half a second, he lay among fallen glowing leaves, chest broken, vision blurred. The blade whispered, "Inefficient." Naruto coughed. Black veins pulled bone back into place. "Saving children is inefficient now," the blade answered with silence. Kinshiki stepped through the broken wall. Naruto stood. "Good," Naruto said quietly. Kinshiki raised his weapon. Naruto's cloak moved first, not toward Kinshiki. Toward the evacuation bridge, a wall of shadow rose between civilians and the battle. Only then did Naruto attack. This time, he stopped trying to match strength. He cut the concept of Kinshiki's weapon being a weapon. The red blade became light without purpose. Kinshiki threw it away and came barehanded. Naruto respected that, then he ended him. The second feeding hit harder than the first. The Necrosword surged, Tier 3 strained upward. The dimension itself reacted, clouds folded inward. Rivers in the sky reversed direction. The artificial suns dimmed. Naruto staggered and grabbed a tree to steady himself. For one heartbeat, his mind filled with voices, not words. Lives the blade had touched, Obito's regret. The Ten-Tail's ancient emptiness, Momoshiki's offended pride, Kinshiki's duty, the fallen Kage, Gaara. Naruto gasped. Gaara's face flashed before him. Naruto, come back! The blade crushed the memory down. Naruto let it. That was the first time he did not fight fast enough. Tonri came with the moon, not Earth's moon. A constructed satellite pulled from a nearby dimension, dragged into orbit above the city and used like a weapon. Naruto looked up as the sky darkened. The satellite split open. A beam of pale chakra descended, carrying the weight of Hamura's distant bloodline and 1,000 years of lunar discipline. The attack struck Naruto directly. For the first time, he screamed in a way the entire dimension heard, not because the beam was stronger than the Ten-Tail's, because it was pure in a way the Necrosword found difficult to digest, not innocent. Nothing Otsutsuki made was innocent, but old, focused, built from a branch of divine power that had spent centuries in isolation, refining itself into something sharp and cold. Naruto's cloak burned away. His left arm vanished to the shoulder. He crashed through 3 levels of the city and landed in a lower plaza. Civilians had already been evacuated, mostly. An elderly Otsutsuki woman remained trapped beneath a fallen pillar. Naruto lay 10 feet from her, breathing hard, staring at the empty space where his arm had been. The blade crawled across the wound. It tried to rewrite, failed, tried again, failed slower. Above, Tonri descended, pale eyes glowing. So the beast can be harmed. Naruto pushed himself up with one arm. The elderly woman stared at him from beneath the pillar. She was afraid of him, of Tonri, of everything. Naruto looked at her, then at the falling debris above her. Tonri lifted his hand to fire again. The blade screamed for offense. Naruto moved toward the woman instead. He kicked the pillar aside and dragged her free just as Tonri's next beam struck the plaza. The blast swallowed both of them. When the light faded, Naruto stood over the old woman with his remaining arm raised. The Necrosword had formed a shield, not a blade. A shield. It hated the shape. Naruto almost laughed. The old woman looked up at him, stunned. Why? Naruto did not know how to answer. Because you were there. Because I am still me. Because I need that to be true. He looked up at Tonri. Run. The woman ran. Tonri's expression tightened. Mercy is wasteful. Naruto's missing arm began to grow back, not flesh first, shadow first, then bone, then memory. The concept of his arm having been lost was rewritten, not completely, not cleanly, but enough. Fingers flexed into existence, black-veined and trembling. Naruto rolled his shoulder. You sound like my sword. Tonri attacked. Naruto cut upward. The moonbeam split. Then the satellite behind Tonri split too. For a moment, the sky held 2 broken halves of artificial moon. Then they fell sideways into separate dimensions, severed from the law that had held them above the city. Tonri's eyes widened. Naruto's blade pierced his chest. The Moon Prince whispered something in a language Naruto did not understand. The blade understood, a prayer. It ate that too. Tier 3 broke, Tier 4 opened. The change was not loud, it was worse. Every dimension connected to the Otsutsuki realm shuddered. Every boundary became visible to Naruto at once. He saw doors between worlds like thin skin. He saw old roads, dead roads, roads still warm from armies that had crossed them. He saw Earth below, fragile and bright. He saw Konoha, the hospital. Hinata sitting upright in bed, staring out a window. For a second, he saw her face clearly, then the vision widened too much. He saw more, hundreds of worlds marked by the Otsutsuki, some dead, some waiting, some already rooted with divine trees. Naruto's breath slowed. The blade's hunger became doctrine. Look, it said without words, look how many, look how long this has happened. Look what mercy preserved. Naruto closed his eyes. When he opened them, the white points in his black gaze burned brighter. Where is Kaguya? Every soldier in the plaza stepped back. No one answered, so the palace answered for them. Its gates opened. Kaguya waited in the throne chamber. She stood alone beneath the star map ceiling. The council was gone. The surviving nobles had fled or hidden. Black Zetsu clung to the shadow behind her throne, trembling between rage and fear. Naruto entered slowly. The chamber was vast, white, and painfully bright. Pillars curved upward like bones. The floor reflected the sky. At the far end stood Kaguya in robes layered like moonlight. For a moment neither moved. Naruto had expected hatred. He had expected arrogance. He had expected a monster. Instead, Kaguya looked at him like she had been waiting for a door to open for 1,000 years and had always known it would lead to this. So, she said softly, the sea finally gave back its tooth. The Necrosword pulsed. Naruto stopped halfway across the chamber. You knew about it? Kaguya's pale eyes lowered to the blade. I knew of what it came from. What is it? A fragment, she said. A hunger from before my clan learned to wear flesh properly, before chakra fruit, before seed worlds, before names like Otsutsuki mattered. Naruto's grip tightened. You feared it? Kaguya gave a faint, humorless smile. I shaped a world because I feared it. Images moved across the ceiling. Earth appeared, then the divine tree, then ancient humans looking up in terror. I came to your world as a thief, Kaguya said. I will not pretend otherwise. I ate the fruit. I took power. I ruled. I prepared armies. I wrapped the world in dreams. Your histories call me cruel. You were. Yes. The honesty struck harder than defense would have. Kaguya looked at him. But cruelty is often only fear that has been given enough time. Naruto said nothing. She walked down the steps from the throne. Black Zetsu stirred. Mother, Kaguya raised one hand. He stopped. She continued toward Naruto. My clan harvests worlds. They have done so longer than your species has had language. I was born inside that certainty. Worlds are gardens. Lives are crop. Chakra is fruit. That is the law we inherited. Her eyes hardened. Then I found Earth, and below its waters something slept that did not obey our law. The blade shifted. Kaguya stopped several paces away. I tried to build power enough to survive its waking. I failed. Naruto's voice was quiet. You killed people to prepare for me. I killed people to prepare for what your sword is part of. That doesn't make it better. No, again, no excuse, only truth. That made it difficult to hate her cleanly. Naruto hated that too. Kaguya looked at his face for a long moment. You are young. I've heard that. Too young to understand what it means to become a shelter by becoming a terror. Naruto's jaw tightened. I understand enough. No, she said, you are beginning to. The chamber trembled. Outside, the siege quieted, not ended, quieted. As if the entire dimension had turned toward this room. Kaguya lifted her hands. Bone ash formed around her fingers, all-killing ash bones. Naruto felt the blade recoil slightly. It had learned the technique earlier, but not fully. Kaguya's version was older, purer, tied directly into her body and bloodline. The first bone shot forward. Naruto cut it. The second grazed his cheek. The skin there began to crumble. The blade corrected it, slowly. Kaguya moved like falling snow, silent, sudden, everywhere. Dimensions opened and closed around her. Ice, lava, acid, empty gravity, endless sand. Each world flashed for seconds at a time as she tried to disorient him, bury him, separate him from direction itself. At Tier 4, the blade could cut dimensions. But cutting every world she opened required choice. And choice took time. Kaguya used that time. A bone pierced Naruto's side. Another pinned his shoulder. He tore free, but the ash spread, trying to erase his body cell by cell. The Necrosword burned through it. Naruto's cloak lashed out. Kaguya split into space and reappeared above him. Her palm struck his forehead. For 1 second, their minds touched. Naruto saw her memories. Not all. Enough. Kaguya young, standing before elders who spoke of worlds like inventory. Kaguya arriving on Earth and seeing blue oceans for the first time. Kaguya beneath the divine tree, hand on her stomach, afraid for children not yet born. Kaguya watching humans kneel and realizing fear could become worship. Kaguya hearing something beneath Yuzashio's future seas. Kaguya looking at the moon after her sons sealed her and thinking not of revenge first, but of failure. Then Naruto showed her something back without meaning to, a swing set, a bowl of ramen, Uruka's smile, Sasuke leaving, Hinata falling, Kurama laughing like thunder, Gaara saying, "Come back." Kaguya pulled away, her expression changed. "You are not its first host," she said. Naruto froze. "But you are the first one who still regrets." The blade surged in rage. Naruto attacked, not because he chose to, because the sword hated being seen. Kaguya defended. For several breaths, the throne chamber became a storm of black and white. Ash bones shattered. Shadow tendrils burned. Dimensions opened and were cut shut. The star map ceiling cracked, worlds flickering out one by one as the battle damaged the records woven into the palace itself. Finally, Naruto reached her. The blade stopped at her throat. Kaguya did not move. Black Zetsu screamed from the shadows. "Mother!" Naruto's hand shook. Kaguya looked into his black eyes and found the boy buried beneath them. "If you do this," she said, "you will save Earth from me." Naruto's breath caught, "And from my clan." The blade pulsed, "and from many who would follow." Her voice softened. "And you will teach the sword that your answer to fear is always to cut." Naruto's eyes flickered blue. For 1 second, the throne room blurred. He saw Konoha's gates, Sakura's tears. Sasuke's anger, Hinata's hand in his, Kurama's warning, "Do not touch it." Naruto whispered, "I can't stop." Kaguya's face held no surprise, only sorrow. "I know." The blade moved. Kaguya Otsutsuki died gently, no scream, no spectacle, no explosion of divine power. She simply lowered her eyes as the Necrosword severed the ancient root of her being from the world. Black Zetsu made a sound that was not human, not animal, not anything but grief twisted through centuries of manipulation. He lunged from the shadows. Naruto turned. Black Zetsu stopped. The blade considered him, then dismissed him. Low yield. Naruto stared at the shadow creature. Black Zetsu trembled. "You killed my mother." Naruto's voice was empty. "Yes. I made history for her. I know. I broke kings. I guided wars. I waited longer than your entire bloodline has existed." Naruto looked down at Kaguya's still form, and she was still afraid. Black Zetsu recoiled like he had been struck. For a moment, Naruto almost pitied him. Then the blade whispered that pity was inefficient. Naruto closed his hand. Black Zetsu fled into the cracks of the palace. Naruto let him go. Not mercy. Exhaustion. Maybe those were becoming harder to separate too. The throne was colder than it looked. Naruto sat on it because his legs stopped trusting him. The battle outside had ended, not because every Otsutsuki was dead, because enough had died, because the palace had fallen, because Kaguya was gone, because the realm had felt the blade climb and understood that resistance had become a ritual, not a strategy. For 1 hour, the hunger was quiet, truly quiet. No whisper, no pressure, no upward pull. The Necrosword rested across Naruto's lap like a sleeping shadow. Naruto looked at his hands. They were steady. That bothered him. After everything, they should have shaken. He tried to remember Ikaraku. The smell came first, pork broth. Steam, green onion, old wood counter. Then Chuchai's face. Then I-Am laughing. Then his own voice demanding extra pork like it was a matter of national importance. The memory was there, but he had to reach for it. That scared him more than Kaguya had. He tried Hinata next. Her face came slowly, too slowly. Pale eyes, dark hair. The way she said his name like it was something careful and precious. The way her hand had felt when she held his in the hospital, he remembered, but the memory flickered at the edges. Naruto leaned forward, pressing one hand over his mouth. No, the throne room did not answer. The sword did not answer. He tried Kurama. That memory came sharper, not because he loved Kurama more, because losing Kurama had cut deeper into the same wound where the blade lived. The fox's voice echoed. "I am afraid of this." Naruto laughed once. It sounded broken in the empty chamber. "You were right." A sound came from the far doors, small, a gasp. Naruto lifted his head. 3 shadow clones stood there. He did not remember making them. Each clone wore black eyes. Each held a smaller necrosword. Between them stood a child, an Otsutsuki girl, maybe 6 years old. Small horns curved from her pale hair. Her white eyes were wide with terror, but she did not cry. She stood very still, hands clenched around a torn sleeve. One clone spoke. Hidden beneath the Eastern Archive. Another added, Kaguya bloodline. The third looked at the child with empty hunger. Last direct branch. The blade in Naruto's lap woke. The hunger returned all at once, not loud, not frantic, certain. The child stared at him. Naruto stared back. Her soul was small, but her bloodline was not in her. The blade sensed continuation. Future threat, divine inheritance. A seed from a tree that had poisoned worlds. The logic was flawless. Cut her, and one more branch ended forever. Cut her, and no descendant of Kaguya could return for vengeance. Cut her, and Earth became safer by one measurable degree. The clones stepped forward. The girl did not run. Maybe she knew there was nowhere. Maybe she had been raised too proud to beg. Maybe she was simply too afraid to move. Naruto stood. The throne cracked behind him. No, the clones stopped. The blade pressed against his ribs. Continuation. Threat. Cut! Naruto's eyes burned. She's a child. So were you. The answer struck like a slap. Naruto froze. Images came him as a child, alone on the swing, villagers glaring, shinobi whispering that he was the Nine-Tails, a danger, a monster, a future disaster better handled early. Naruto's breath turned ragged. The clones raised their blades. Naruto's voice shook. I said no. The closest clone tilted its head. It was his face, his voice, his hunger without hesitation. She will grow. Naruto stepped down from the throne. So did I. She may return. Then let her choose that when she's old enough to know what revenge costs. The clone's blade shifted. The necrosword inside Naruto pushed hard enough to make his bones ache. For one terrible moment, his body moved against him, his hand lifted. The full blade formed. The child finally flinched. A tiny sound escaped her. That sound saved him, not because it was powerful, because it was useless. It had no divine weight, no strategy, no cosmic meaning. It was only fear, a child's fear. The blade could not turn it into doctrine fast enough. Naruto roared, not the cold voice of Shadow Sage, not the calm voice from the land of iron, his voice. Loud, broken, human. I said no. The 3 clones shattered, not dispelled, shattered. Their little necroswords snapped into black dust and rushed back into Naruto's body. He fell to one knee, gasping. The child remained where she was, shaking silently. Naruto forced himself to stand. The blade writhed under his skin, furious in a way he had never felt before. Not hungry, not calculating, angry, because he had denied it something it considered inevitable. Naruto walked toward the girl. She stepped back. He stopped immediately, his voice softened. I won't hurt you. She stared at him. He did not ask her to believe him. He barely believed himself. Instead, he lifted the sword and cut the air beside her. A small dimensional wound opened. Naruto had no destination in mind. That was dangerous, maybe cruel, but staying here was worse. The remaining Otsutsuki would use her. The blade would demand her. Black Zetsu, if he survived, might shape her into another 1,000-year scheme. The wound opened onto somewhere blue and distant. Another world, another sky, no chakra signature he recognized. Naruto stepped away from it. Go. The girl looked at the doorway, then at him. For a moment, something like hatred appeared in her eyes. Good, Naruto thought. Hatred was alive. Hatred meant she was more than prey. She walked to the portal. At the edge, she stopped. What are you? She asked. Naruto had no answer. The blade offered one. He refused it, so he gave her the only truth he still owned. I don't know any more. The girl stepped through. The portal closed. Naruto stood alone in Kaguya's throne room. And for the first time since the shrine beneath the battlefield, he had won a fight that gave the blade nothing. It felt smaller than victory should, but it was his. When Naruto returned to Earth, the sky cracked, not metaphorically. Above the ruins of Konoha's evacuation line, a black seam opened across the clouds. Thunder rolled without lightning. Birds scattered from forests miles away. Every seal in the village flared at once and then went dark. Naruto fell from the wound in the sky and landed before Konoha's gates. The gates were open. The village beyond them was empty, not destroyed, empty, homes sealed, shops shuttered, streets cleared, the hospital evacuated, even the academy playground stood silent, swings moving gently in the wind. They had known he might return. They had chosen not to be there when he did. For a long time, Naruto stood outside the gates. The Necrosword was hidden under his skin. His clothes were torn. His face was marked by black lines that faded slowly but never vanished fully. His eyes were blue again, though the blue looked tired now. He walked inside. No one stopped him. No one welcomed him. Konoha had never been so quiet. He passed Ikaraku. The curtain was tied shut. A small paper charm hung by the entrance, not a defensive seal, a prayer. Naruto touched it with 2 fingers. The memory of ramen came easier here. That hurt. He moved on, past the academy, past the mission office, past the hospital where Hinata had lived because of his bargain. Her room was empty. On the bedside table, someone had left a folded piece of paper. Naruto did not open it. He knew if he saw her handwriting, something in him might break in a way the blade would immediately try to repair, so he left it there. Finally, he reached the Hokage monument. He climbed slowly. No shadow step, no dimensional cut. Just hands and feet on stone like when he was a child sneaking up to paint the faces. At the top, he stopped before the 4th Hokage. Minato Namikaze's stone face looked out over the empty village. Naruto sat down on the road beneath it. For a while, he only looked up. His father's carved eyes gave no judgment that made it worse. Naruto's breathing shook. "I did it," he whispered. The wind moved through the empty streets below. "I stopped them." No answer. Kaguya's dead. The Otsutsuki won't come, not like before, not for a long time. Still no answer. "The world is safer." His voice cracked. "So why does it feel like I lost?" The blade was quiet, satisfied from the hunt, too full to argue, too generous to silence him. Naruto pressed both hands to his face. At first no tears came. He was afraid they were gone too. Then one fell, then another. Then the boy who had eaten gods, broken dimensions, and made an ancient clan fear the ground beneath its feet, curled beneath his father's stone face and wept. Not beautifully, not heroically, just wept for Kurama, for Gaara, for Sasuke who would come. For Hinata, who had lived into a world where he had become the price. For Kaguya, who had been cruel and afraid and right. For a nameless child thrown into a strange sky because mercy was all he could give her. For Naruto Uzumaki, who was still there, somewhere. Less every day, but there. Above him, the sky slowly closed. Below him, Konoha remained empty. And beneath his skin, the Necrosword slept with a full stomach, patient enough to let its bearer cry. Chapter 6. The Hollow Throne. 6 months passed without war. For the first time in living memory, the continent became quiet. Not peaceful quiet. There was a difference, and everyone knew it. The villages still stood, but they no longer stood the way they used to. Their gates remained open during the day, closed before sunset, and watched through the night by shinobi who knew very well that walls no longer meant safety. The cage seats remained empty. No one dared claim them. The title itself had become haunted. Reikage, Tsuchikage, Kazekage, words that once shook council chambers and battlefields now sat in people's mouths like ashes. May Terumi return to Kirigakure alive, but never again allowed anyone to call her Mizukage in public. Tsunade remained in Konoha, though the village council avoided looking at her whenever the subject of leadership arose. Gaara's sand gourd was carried back to Suna in silence. Anoki's hat was placed in Iwa's highest hall. A's cloak was folded and locked in the Reikage's office, where Killer Bee stood before it for 1 hour and said nothing that rhymed. No one declared Naruto Uzumaki ruler of the world. No one needed to. The world arranged itself around him anyway. He built his tower in the land of iron. Or rather, the blade built it through him. It rose from the mountain peak where the Five Kage had fallen, a black structure of smooth obsidian that no tool could mark and no jutsu could stain. It had no windows, no banners, no gates. It was not large in the way castles were large, but it looked heavier than mountains. Its shape changed depending on the weather. Some days it looked like a tower, some days like a sword driven into the earth. Some days like a throne turned upside down, no one lived near it. No one walked the paths around it unless they had no other choice. Birds did not land on it, snow did not settle on it. Even sunlight seemed to touch it only because the world had not yet figured out how to refuse. Naruto lived there alone, mostly. Sometimes shadow clones moved through the tower holes. Sometimes black tendrils repaired cracks that had not existed the day before. Sometimes, at night, people in distant villages dreamed of a boy sitting on a throne made of darkness, staring at the moon as if waiting for it to apologize. He issued no commands. That was the strangest part. No edicts came from the Black Tower. No armies marched under his name. No tax collectors, no messengers demanding loyalty, no threats delivered to village gates. Naruto did not rule by speaking. He ruled by existing. Bandit clans dissolved after one scout saw the tower from a mountain ridge and came back unable to stop shaking. Missing nin who once preyed on small towns began turning themselves in. Rogue factions that had survived the war burned their own hideouts rather than risk becoming large enough to be noticed. Diplomacy resumed because no one could afford conflict. Trade routes reopened because attacking caravans became politically dangerous. Old clan feuds paused because every leader understood that if they became too loud, the thing in the tower might look in their direction. Children were born in villages that had expected funerals. Crops were planted in fields that had been battlefields a year earlier. Markets opened. Roads filled. The world, by every number that mattered to politicians, became better. Fewer deaths, fewer raids, fewer wars, fewer hungry children. That was the cruelest thing of all. Naruto's nightmare worked. Inside the tower, Naruto sat on a throne he had never asked for. It stood in a chamber at the highest point of the structure, though the tower's inside did not always match its outside. Some staircases led to the same hallway twice. Some doors opened into rooms that had never been built. Some walls showed reflections not of the person standing before them, but of the person they had been before regret changed their face. Naruto avoided those walls. The throne itself was simple. Black stone. No decoration, no jewels, no carving of foxes or spirals or village symbols. Just a place to sit that somehow made it worse. Naruto rested one elbow on the arm of the throne and stared at his right hand. The black line across his palm had widened over the months. It no longer looked like a scar. It looked like a closed mouth. Sometimes it opened in his sleep. Sometimes he woke to find the sword in his hand, pointed toward a threat so far away he could not yet name it. Those were becoming rarer now. The Otsutsuki were gone, not all of them. Naruto was not foolish enough to believe that. The clan had scattered across too many dimensions, left too many seeds in too many worlds. But the bright clan's central throne had fallen. Kaguya was dead. Mamashiki, Kinshiki, Tonri, Urashiki gone. Their largest roads were cut. Their closest paths to Earth were severed. For now, Earth was safe. For now, the words had become the blade's favorite poison. For now meant preparation. For now meant watchfulness. For now meant no threat was ever truly gone, only waiting to become worth cutting. Naruto closed his hand. "Not today," he whispered. The tower answered with silence. A small table sat beside the throne. On it were three things: a cracked Hittite from Konoha, a paper charm from Ikaraku, and the folded note Hinata had left in the hospital room. Naruto still had not opened it. He had carried it from the empty village without remembering when he picked it up. Some part of him had taken it. Some part of him had protected it through the return to the tower, through the long nights, through the blade's colder moods. It sat there now, folded neatly. A small white thing in a room made of black. Naruto reached toward it. His fingers stopped inches away. The blade stirred, not hungry, wary. That was new. It did not fear Hinata's chakra. It did not fear her strength. The blade had judged long ago that cutting her would yield almost nothing, but it feared what she represented, a debt the blade could not measure. A life saved that had not become obedience. A love Naruto had not been able to turn into doctrine. Naruto pulled his hand back, not because of the blade, because he was afraid too. He feared opening the note and feeling nothing. He feared opening it and feeling everything, so he left it folded. Again. Outside, snow began to fall. Naruto looked toward the south. Someone was coming, not an army, not an assassin, a fox, and a man who rhymed when grief allowed him to breathe. Naruto stood. The tower opened a path. Killer Bee reached the base of the black tower before sunset. He came alone, at least in the way people counted bodies. Kurama walked beside him. The fox was still smaller than he should have been, but no longer weak enough to be carried. 6 months with Killer Bee and Juki had restored much of what the blade had torn away. Not all, maybe not ever all, but enough that Kurama's steps shook snow from the rocks around him. He looked like a beast carved from red fire and old anger. Bee had lost some of his usual bounce. He still wore his swords, still moved with rhythm, still hummed under his breath when silence became too heavy, but there were no jokes today, no performance at the base of the tower. Bee stopped. Kurama kept walking. "Hey," Bee said. Kurama did not look back. "I know. You sure?" Kurama's tails lashed once. "No," Bee nodded. "That's honest, bro." The tower's surface shifted. A doorway opened without sound. Naruto stood inside. For a long moment, no one moved. Kurama looked up at the boy who had once been his cage, then his partner, then his friend. Naruto looked down at the fox who had once been his curse, then his power, then his family. The space between them was filled with everything neither could say. Bee stepped back. "This talk ain't mine." Kurama's ear twitched. "Stay close." Bee gave him a small smile. "Always do, furball." Kurama growled, but there was no heat in it. He walked into the tower. Naruto stepped aside. The doorway closed behind them. They sat in a chamber halfway up the tower, not the throne room. Naruto refused to take Kurama there. Instead, the tower shaped a smaller room with no windows and a low ceiling, almost like it was trying to remember what comfort looked like. A shallow pool of black water rested in the center. It reflected neither of them. Kurama lay on one side of the pool. Naruto sat on the other. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Kurama said, "You look terrible." Naruto laughed. It came out rusty. "You're one to talk. You're the size of Akamaru's angry uncle." Kurama's eyes narrowed. "I can still bite your head off." "No, you can't." "No," Kurama admitted, "but I'd enjoy trying." Another silence, this one almost comfortable. Then Naruto looked down. "I'm sorry." Kurama closed his eyes. The words were too small. Both of them knew it. Naruto continued anyway. "I should have listened." "Yes. I thought I could control it." "You didn't think," Kurama said. "You hurt. There's a difference." Naruto swallowed. Kurama opened one eye. "I told myself that for weeks." "What?" "That you betrayed me." Naruto flinched. Kurama watched him. "It was easier. Cleaner. You found something stronger, chose it, and threw me away. Simple. I could hate you for that." Naruto's voice came out rough. "And now," Kurama looked at the black pool, "now I know you made the same mistake every lonely child makes when someone offers them the one thing they cannot refuse." Naruto's hands curled. "It showed me Hinata dying. I know." "It didn't lie." Kurama's gaze sharpened. "That is what makes it dangerous, brat." The old insult hit Naruto in the chest. For a second, his eyes burned. Kurama continued. "Lies can be fought, tricks can be exposed, but truth with no mercy, truth with no love, that is how monsters build temples." Naruto looked away. The blade shifted beneath his skin. Kurama's lips pulled back. It felt the movement. "Does it listen when we speak?" "Yes." "Good." Kurama lifted his head toward Naruto's arm. "Then hear me, you black piece of cosmic trash. You took my host. You took my friend. You may wear his skin and borrow his heartbeat, but he was loud before you. He was stupid before you. He was impossible before you. And if there is even a scrap of him left in there, he will ruin your perfect little hunger just by caring about the wrong person at the wrong time." The tower trembled. Naruto's arm went cold. The blade was not amused. Kurama smiled, showing teeth. "There you are." Naruto pressed a hand to his ribs. "Don't provoke it. I spent most of my life being sealed inside children and yelled at by dead men's paperwork. Provoking things is all I have." Naruto laughed again. This time it hurt. This time it was real. Kurama heard the difference. His expression softened, though only a little. How much of you is left? Naruto stared at the pool. Some. Don't lie. Less every day. Kurama's tale stilled. Naruto's voice remained quiet. I remember everything. That's the strange part. I remember Uruka-sensei, Team 7, you, Ramen, Hinata. I remember wanting to become Hokage so everyone would acknowledge me. His mouth twisted faintly. They acknowledge me now. Kurama said nothing. But memories feel like things I read in a book. Important book. Favorite book, maybe, but still not always mine. His hand moved toward the black line on his palm. I don't get angry the same way. I don't get happy the same way. I don't even miss people the same way unless I fight for it. He looked at Kurama. I have to choose to be sad sometimes. That silenced even the fox. Naruto smiled weakly. Pretty messed up, right? Kurama's voice was low. Do you want to die? The question hung in the room like a blade. Naruto did not answer quickly. Outside, snow brushed against the tower. Finally, he said, I would like to. Kurama's eyes closed. Naruto continued, I tried before, more than once. The blade stops it. My body repairs. Weapons fail. Poison forgets what it was supposed to do. Seals turn inside out. He looked at the pool again. I can't die. Kurama opened his eyes. No, you can't die easily. Naruto's gaze sharpened. The fox looked toward the tower walls. This thing was sleeping before. It can sleep again. The blade pulsed hard enough that Naruto winced. Kurama smiled without humor. So it doesn't like that. Naruto leaned forward. How? Kurama shook his head. I don't know. Hope fell almost before it rose. Then Kurama added, but Sasuke does. Naruto went still. Kurama watched him carefully. He's been looking. I know. Of course Naruto knew. He had felt Sasuke moving across the continent for months. A dark flame traveling through ruins, shrines, old Uzumaki outposts, Orochimaru's abandoned laboratories, dead villages, forgotten coastlines. Always moving. Always searching. Naruto had never stopped him. The blade had suggested it many times. Naruto had refused every time. Kurama stood. He's coming. Naruto looked toward the east. Yes, you going to let him in? Naruto's face tightened. If I don't, Kurama bared his teeth. Then I make a lot of noise at your front door until your creepy tower gets embarrassed. Naruto almost smiled. Then the expression faded. Kurama. The fox paused. If he found something, it'll cost him. Kurama did not answer. Naruto looked at him. You know it will. Kurama's voice was rough. Yes. Then why let him come? Kurama walked to the doorway that had not been there a moment before. Because that's what you never understood about the people who love you, Naruto. He looked back. You keep trying to pay every price alone. We keep refusing to let you. Then he left. Naruto remained beside the black pool long after Kurama's presence faded from the tower. The blade shifted under his skin. For the first time in months, it felt uncertain. Naruto looked down at his palm. That scares you. The line opened slightly. Naruto's voice dropped. Good. Sasuke arrived 3 days later. He came at dawn, walking through the snow with a cloak wrapped around him and a sword at his hip. He looked older, not by years. By purpose. His hair was longer, his face sharper, his eyes darker even before the Sharingan opened. Dust from half the continent clung to his boots. Old blood marked one sleeve. Around his waist hung scroll cases, sealed tubes and fragments of broken stone covered in spiral script. He stopped before the tower. The door opened. Naruto stood inside. Neither greeted the other. Sasuke looked him over. You're taller. Naruto blinked. What? Or the tower makes you look dramatic. Naruto stared at him. Then, despite everything, he smiled. You came all this way to insult my house. This is not a house. Fair. Silence settled. Then Sasuke stepped inside. The tower closed behind him. It did not try to hide its dislike. Shadows crawled along the walls. The staircases shifted away from him. Doors sealed themselves before he reached them. The air grew colder. Sasuke glanced around. It has bad manners. Naruto's mouth twitched. It really doesn't like you? I'm flattered. They walked upward, not to the throne room. Naruto tried to guide them elsewhere, but Sasuke stopped at the base of the final stair. No, Naruto looked back. Sasuke's eyes lifted. There. Naruto's expression tightened. You don't want to see that room? I didn't come for comfort. Naruto held his gaze, then turned. The throne room opened. Sasuke entered first. He saw the black throne, the empty chamber. The Konoha headband, the Ikaraku charm, the folded note. His eyes paused on the note, Hinata's note, then he looked at Naruto. You still haven't read it. Naruto said nothing. Sasuke did not push. Instead, he walked to the center of the room and began placing scrolls on the floor. Naruto watched. What did you find? Sasuke unrolled the first scroll. Proto-Uzumaki script covered it in spirals so old they seemed less written than grown. The shrine under the battlefield wasn't the only one. Naruto's breath caught. There were others, fragments, failed sites, places where your clan studied the thing beneath Uzushio without fully understanding it. Sasuke unrolled another. They didn't create the blade. They didn't worship it either, not at first. They monitored it. Naruto stepped closer. The blade stirred. The writing hurt to look at. Sasuke continued. Over generations, the blade affected the clan. Your vitality, your sealing talent, your chakra density, it wasn't a gift, it was adaptation. Naruto's face remained still, but Sasuke saw the blow land. They were becoming compatible. Yes, Naruto closed his eyes. My whole clan was shaped into a handle. Sasuke did not soften the truth. Yes, the blade pulsed, not ashamed, proud. Naruto's jaw tightened. Sasuke opened a final scroll. This is the important one. The script on it was darker than the others, written in something that looked like dried blood mixed with ash. It's not a killing seal, Sasuke said. There is no killing it, not with what we have. Naruto nodded slowly. A sleeping seal. A return seal? Sasuke corrected. It folds the active host and blade into a dormant anchor state. The weapon loses expression. The host loses consciousness. No dreams, no time, no hunger. Naruto looked at him. A prison, a vault. For how long? Sasuke's face did not change, if done correctly. Forever. The word moved through the throne room. The blade reacted violently. The walls flexed inward. The floor split with thin black cracks. Shadows rose behind Naruto like wings. Sasuke's Mangekyo opened. Calm it down. Naruto's teeth clenched. I'm trying. The sword forced itself out of his palm. Not fully, just enough for the room to darken. Sasuke's hand moved to his own blade. Naruto? Naruto grabbed his right wrist with his left hand. The Necrosword writhed between his fingers. For several seconds, the tower shook. Then Naruto forced the blade back under his skin. The black line sealed. The chamber steadied. Sasuke looked at him. It's stronger than before. Naruto breathed hard. Yes, then we do this soon. Naruto laughed once bitterly. Sasuke did not answer. Naruto stared. No, Sasuke began arranging the scrolls. Naruto stepped forward. No, Sasuke, still no answer. Naruto grabbed his shoulder and spun him around. What does it cost? Sasuke met his eyes. There it was, that calm, that terrible Uchiha calm that meant the decision had been made long before the conversation began. Naruto's voice dropped. What does it cost? Sasuke said. A living anchor. No. The seal needs someone outside the blade's network to close the final spiral. No. It has to be someone the blade recognizes as significant enough to resist. Naruto stepped back. The room seemed to tilt. No. Sasuke's voice was even. If anyone else tries, the blade eats the seal before it forms. Kakashi might last a few seconds. Sakura may be longer with Tsunade feeding her chakra. Kurama can't do it. The blade understands Biju too well. Naruto's breathing turned sharp. You don't get to decide this. Sasuke's eyes hardened. You decided everything for everyone for 6 months. That's different. No, Sasuke snapped. It's not. It's exactly the same kind of arrogance. You just dressed yours up as sacrifice. The words struck deep. Naruto's shadows rose. Sasuke did not move. I'm not letting you die for me. I'm not asking permission. Naruto's hands shook. For a moment, his eyes flickered black. The blade whispered, stop him. Naruto closed his eyes. Sasuke saw the fight and stepped closer. Naruto, don't! You told me to find a way. I didn't tell you to make yourself the price. Sasuke's expression shifted then. For just a moment, anger gave way to something quieter. You would have done it for me. Naruto opened his eyes. The room went silent. Sasuke's voice lowered. You did do it for me, more than once. You dragged me back from every hole I threw myself into. You refused to let me become the worst version of myself, even when I was trying very hard to make that everyone else's problem. Naruto could not speak. Sasuke looked around the throne room. Now it's my turn. The blade pulsed. Naruto turned away. I need time. Sasuke watched him. How much? Naruto looked at the folded note on the table. 3 days. Sasuke followed his gaze, then nodded. 3 days? Hinata arrived on the 2nd day. Naruto felt her long before she reached the tower. Her soul was not heavy in the way the blade cared about. It had no divine pressure, no monstrous chakra, no cosmic value, but Naruto felt it anyway, soft, steady, impossible to ignore. She came with Sakura and Kakashi, though neither entered at first. They waited at the lower pass where the tower's shadow touched the snow. Sakura looked like she had not slept. Kakashi carried more seals than weapons. Hinata walked the last stretch alone. Her steps were slow. She had recovered, but not completely. The wound Obito had given her still pulled at her body when she moved. Her coat was wrapped tight around her. Snow caught in her dark hair. Naruto met her at the doorway. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. The last time he had seen her awake, she had been in a hospital bed telling him she loved him. He had said it back like a sentence in a language he was forgetting. Now she stood before him, alive because of his bargain, and Naruto did not know what expression his face was supposed to make. Hinata smiled first, small, sad, real. "Hello, Naruto?" His throat tightened. "Hinata." The blade went very still. Hinata looked past him into the tower. "May I come in?" Every part of Naruto wanted to say no, not because he did not want her there, because he did. That was the danger. But he stepped aside. Hinata entered. The tower did not shift against her. It did not welcome her either. It simply seemed uncertain what to do with someone it could not frighten in any useful way. Naruto brought her to a quiet room below the throne chamber. No black pool, no strange reflections. Just stone, a low bench, and a view of the snow through a narrow opening in the wall. Hinata sat. Naruto remained standing. She noticed, "You can sit." He almost obeyed, then stopped. A faint smile touched her face. "You still do that." "What?" "Act like simple things are harder when you're scared." Naruto looked away. "I'm not scared." Hinata's smile faded. "Naruto." The way she said his name undid him more than any accusation could have. He sat. For a while they watched snow fall. Then Hinata reached into her coat and took out a folded paper. Naruto's chest tightened. "The note." She nodded. "You never opened it?" "No." "Why?" He stared at his hands. "Because if I read it and didn't feel enough, I didn't know what I would become." Hinata absorbed that quietly. Then she unfolded the note. Naruto looked sharply at her. She held it gently. "I wrote it when I thought you might come back before we evacuated." Her voice trembled, but she continued. "It said, 'Thank you for saving me.'" Naruto flinched. "And it said I was angry at you." His eyes lifted. Hinata's pale gaze held his. "Not because you saved me. Because you decided my life was worth losing yourself without asking what I would choose." Naruto's mouth opened. No answer came. Hinata looked down at the paper. "I know that is unfair. I was dying. You were desperate. Maybe anyone would have done the same." "No," Naruto whispered. "Not anyone." "No," she agreed softly. "You!" That hurt, because it was love, because it was blame, because it was true. Hinata folded the note again and placed it between them. "Sasuke told us about the seal." Naruto's blood went cold. He shouldn't have. "He loves you too." Naruto looked away. The blade stirred. Hinata continued, voice quiet but firm. "I did not come to ask you to choose it." That surprised him. He looked back. Her eyes shone with tears now. "I wanted to. On the way here, I thought I would be brave and tell you that sealing yourself away was the right thing to do, that the world needed it. That we would remember you." Her voice broke slightly. "But then I saw you at the door." Naruto's hands clenched. "And I hated the world for needing one more thing from you." The room blurred. Naruto closed his eyes. Hinata reached across the space between them, slowly, carefully. Giving him time to pull away, he did not. Her fingers touched his hand. Warm, human, not useful, not powerful, not strategic, just warm. The blade recoiled as if burned. Naruto gasped. Hinata held on. "Naruto." His eyes flickered black, then blue, then black again. Hinata's grip tightened. I will love whatever version of you survives this. He shook his head. Don't. I will love the boy who wanted to become Hokage. I will love the man who made terrible choices because he could not bear to watch people die. I will love the part of you still fighting. Tears slipped down her face. And if no version of you survives awake, I will love the silence too. Naruto broke, not loudly, not with a scream. He folded forward, his forehead touching their joined hands, and for a few precious seconds he cried like the blade had never learned how to stop him. Hinata placed her other hand over his hair. The tower trembled around them, but it did not interfere. Maybe it could not. Maybe even the Necrosword understood in some distant and hateful way that cutting this moment would feed it nothing. When Naruto finally lifted his head, his decision had already been made. Hinata saw it. She closed her eyes. I'm sorry, he whispered. She shook her head. No, no more sorry. He held her hand tighter. Then what do I say? Hinata smiled through tears. Say you'll rest. Naruto stared at her. Then, slowly, he nodded. I'll rest. The ceiling began at sunset. Sasuke drew the formation in the snow around the tower, not with ink, with blood, chakra, and powdered fragments of old Uzumaki stone. Sakura helped stabilize the outer rings. Tsunade, against everyone's advice, fed chakra into the medical anchor points. Kakashi placed his own modified seals along the southern edge, designed not to trap the blade, but to keep the backlash from killing everyone nearby. Kurama and Killer Bee stood at the far boundary. The fox's tails lashed constantly. Bee's fists opened and closed at his sides. Hinata stood beside Sakura. She did not cry now. That would come later. Naruto stood at the base of the tower, looking at all of them. Sakura approached first. She punched him in the chest, not hard, not softly either. You idiot, she whispered. Naruto smiled faintly. Yeah, then she hugged him. This time, when he hugged her back, the warmth reached him, not all the way, but enough. Kakashi came next. He placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. I don't have a speech, Kakashi said. Naruto gave him a look. You always have a speech. I had one. It was bad. Naruto almost laughed. Kakashi's visible eye softened. You did good, Naruto. Naruto looked down. Sensei, no, Kakashi said. You did terrible things too. Both can be true. Naruto swallowed. Kakashi squeezed his shoulder. Sleep. We'll watch the world for a while. Kurama came last. He stopped in front of Naruto, red eyes narrowed. You look like you want me to forgive you dramatically. Naruto smiled weakly. Do you? No, Naruto nodded. Fair. Kurama leaned forward until his massive forehead touched Naruto's. But I'll be here when you wake up, if you ever do. Naruto closed his eyes. That sounds like forgiveness. Don't push it. Naruto laughed softly, then Sasuke called from the center of the formation, it's time. The blade under Naruto's skin began to fight. Black veins spread across his arm, his eyes darkened. The tower groaned as if waking from sleep. Everyone tensed. Naruto raised one hand, I've got it. He walked into the center of the seal. Sasuke stood across from him. For a moment, they were boys in the Valley of the End again, one trying to leave, one trying to bring him back. Only this time, the roles had twisted into something crueler. Naruto looked at the seal lines. You didn't tell me everything. Sasuke's face remained still. Naruto's voice hardened. I can feel it now. Sakura looked sharply at them. Sasuke? Sasuke ignored her. Naruto's eyes filled with horror. The living anchor doesn't just close the seal. Sasuke said nothing. It dies with it. Sakura went pale. Hinata covered her mouth. Kakashi stepped forward. Sasuke, the Uchiha raised one hand. If any of you interfere, the seal fails. Naruto's body shook. No. Sasuke's Mangekyo opened. Yes. The blade surged. It saw the opening. Naruto's grief became instability. Instability became chance. The Necrosword burst from his palm in full, screaming without sound, black tendrils lashing in every direction. Sasuke moved, not away, forward. He slammed his bloodied hand onto the central spiral. The seal ignited. The world turned black and red. Naruto screamed. The blade fought him, fought the seal, fought Sasuke, fought the very idea of sleep. The tower unfolded above them, stretching into a colossal sword shape that pierced the clouds. Shadow poured from its walls. The snow rose upward. The mountain cracked. Sasuke held the seal. Blood ran from his eyes, from his nose, from the corners of his mouth. Naruto reached for him. "Stop!" Sasuke's voice was strained but clear. "Make me." The words were almost a joke, almost. Naruto tried to move. The seal held him. The blade tried to cut Sasuke. Naruto caught his own sword hand with his other hand and forced the edge away. For 17 seconds, the world balanced on two boys refusing to let go. First, second. The outer seal formed. Second. The tower began folding inward. Third. The Necrosword severed 3 anchor lines. Sakura and Tsunade rebuilt them with raw chakra. Fourth. Kakashi's southern seals burned out and took the first backlash. Fifth. Kurama roared so loudly the mountain shook. Sixth. Naruto's eyes went fully black. Seventh. Sasuke's Susanoo formed around him, skeletal and damaged from the wound Naruto had given it months ago. Eighth. The blade cut into the Susanoo again. Ninth. Sasuke screamed but did not move. 10th. Hinata whispered Naruto's name. 11th. Naruto's eyes flickered blue. 12th. The tower collapsed from the inside. 13th. The throne room vanished. 14th. The Ikaraku charm burned white and became part of the seal. 15th. The Konoha headband cracked. 16th. Sasuke looked at Naruto and smiled, not happily, not sadly. Just like he had finally reached the end of a road he chose himself. 17th. The seal closed. Sasuke died standing. Naruto screamed his name as the black tower folded into itself. Stone became shadow. Shadow became a blade. The blade became a shard. The mountain peak went silent. Where the tower had stood, there was now only snow. And in the center of the burned ceiling circle lay a single obsidian fragment no longer than a finger. Inside it, hidden deeper than sight, slept a boy who had become a god-killer. And beside it, in the snow, lay Sasuke Uchiha, still, quiet, free. No one spoke for a long time. Sakura reached Sasuke first. She fell to her knees beside him, hands glowing green before she even touched him. But the moment her chakra entered his body, she knew there was nothing to heal. The seal had not wounded him. It had spent him. Sakura's hands shook. Then the glow faded. A sound escaped her that made Kakashi close his eye. Hinata knelt beside the obsidian shard. She did not touch it at first. Her fingers hovered over it, trembling. Kurama approached slowly. The fox looked down at Sasuke, then at the shard. Then he threw his head back and roared. It was not rage, not only rage. It was grief big enough to shake snow from every tree on the mountain. Killer Bee stood behind him, head bowed. No rhyme came. Tsunade sank to one knee, one hand pressed against the snow as if the world had tilted beneath her. Kakashi picked up the shard, carefully. Both hands. The obsidian was cold, so cold it seemed to drink warmth from his gloves. Inside it, something slept. Kakashi felt no hunger from it now, no voice, no pressure, just silence, the kind Naruto had asked for. Kakashi placed the shard into a sealing pouch layered with every protection he had spent months preparing. "We'll hide it," he said. His voice was rough. No one answered. He looked at Sakura, at Hinata, at Kurama, at the place where Sasuke lay. "We'll hide it in pieces, in places where no one will find it." Sakura wiped her face with the back of her hand. "Pieces?" Kakashi looked at the pouch. "The seal allows division, not breaking, separating, each piece asleep, each piece incomplete." Kurama's voice was low. "And if someone finds them?" Kakashi closed his eye. "Then we make sure no one does." Years passed. The world told different stories. Some said Naruto Uzumaki died saving everyone from an ancient evil. Some said he became that evil and was sealed by the last Uchiha. Some said Sasuke betrayed him. Some said Sasuke saved him. Some villages banned songs about the Black Tower. Others whispered them to children as warnings. In Konoha, no official monument was built for Naruto at first, because no one could agree what words should be carved beneath his name. Hero, monster, savior, warning, friend. In the end, they carved only this: Naruto Uzumaki, he carried too much. Beside it, another stone bore Sasuke's name, no title, no clan symbol, only Sasuke Uchiha, he brought him home. Hinata visited both stones every year. Sakura visited more often than she admitted. Kakashi never told anyone where the shard pieces were hidden. Kurama searched the horizon whenever storms gathered over the ocean, as if expecting a familiar voice to insult him from the thunder. The world remained peaceful, not perfect, never perfect, but living. And far beyond Earth, in a dimension no shinobi had ever named, the Otsutsuki child Naruto had spared grew into a queen. She sat on a throne made from the broken weapons of her fallen clan. Her horns were longer now, her eyes colder. Around her, the survivors of the bright clan kneeled in silence. In her hand rested a piece of obsidian no longer than a fingernail. She turned it slowly between her fingers. It did not speak, not yet. But she had spent years studying silence. Her family had been patient. The deep blade had been patient. The boy who spared her had been merciful. She had learned from all three. A servant bowed near the throne. "My queen," he whispered, "shall we continue the search?" The girl who was no longer a girl looked at the obsidian piece, then toward the distant road between dimensions. "Yes," she said. Her voice was soft, almost gentle. "Find the rest of him." The chamber lights dimmed. The obsidian fragment pulsed once, and somewhere no map remembered, something sleeping dreamed of hunger.